All right, Kingkillers, we're covering chapters 71 through 73 in this episode. Got three phenomenal chapters. We'll discuss the thrice locked box, see Kvothe follow Denna as she saves a girl and gets real with her. Then we discuss one of the hardest chapters to reread as Denna sings her song for Kvothe. Plus, you get some more speculation on how to tie together a number of complicated plot points. And Kvothe is going to get hammered by us for dropping the lamest line so far in the books. So sit back and enjoy. All right, welcome to the Kingkiller podcast. Dan, got with me Ambrose, or Tim. What's going on, Tim?
Yeah. Yes, I'm here. My name is Tim. That is not Ambrose.
You wear that fucking big feather capped hat. Throws me off.
Yeah, I still, that's one of those interesting examples where you can't really. Everybody has their own perception, right, of what it looks like. It has a big feather. I think sometimes I see it as purple. Does he wear a purple hat?
Yeah, I think purple is probably the right color for it. If it's not, I think that's a good image for it. Like purple with I just picture Kramer when he's got his, techno.
Joseph in the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat.
Yeah. His little dream coat with his cane and feather capped hat. Like, that's basically how I picture Ambrose walking around. Fucking pimp shit.
I don't think he looks that cool. I think he looks ridiculous, but I have a feeling, I don't know. I always see Ambrose as just a big piece of shit.
I don't see how you could say that about someone who wears a hat with a feather in it.
That they're not cool?
Yeah, like that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, but a lot of people wear hats with feathers in them these days.
Cool people do.
Ah, okay. Well, there's that time where the bigger the better, it seems. Cam Newton wearing the big, massive brimmed hat. That just became a thing for a while.
Yeah, I like feathered hats and what are they called? Jinko jeans.
It's quite a combo.
Yeah.
Jinko jeans, feathered cap, and roller skates maybe?
Jinko jeans, but like sag to like just above the kneecap.
These jean shorts?
No. Jeans, but sag down to just above the knees.
That's a good look. Not real mobile, Can't do a lot in terms of getting around real quick.
That's my favorite is like people that do walk around with their pants like sag, but they're trying to be like super fucking hard. It's like, dude, if you get in a fight, like the first thing you're going to have to do is pull your pants up.
Yeah.
And half the fight, half your moves, it's like throw a punch, pull my pants up, throw another punch, pull my pants up. Like, no, you're getting wrecked.
Yeah, you're gonna
you better have some super strong one punch power if you're fucking rolling around with pants that fall down below your ass, especially if they fall down all the way to your thighs. Like, no, you're getting wrecked.
You'd have to have something like immediately, like someone carries suspenders around just for this moment.
Yeah, that's the first thing they do. So they fucking pull out their suspenders. Like, hold on, bro, 1 second. Fucking clip on their suspenders so they can get in a fight.
Either that or belt, have to throw. But even that though, not real practical. You have to squinch it all up.
Yeah.
A massive, I don't know. It's very strange. I've always thought that was a very strange look. That doesn't, it prevents, any mobility.
It makes you have to walk around like you're about to fucking shit your pants. Because you got to kind of walk with your legs like outwards a little bit so that they hold your pants up from falling down. Because you can't just walk normal. Pants are just, like if your pants are already sagged down to your fucking thighs, they're gonna fucking fall all the way to the ground if you're not doing something to actively hold them up. So yeah, it's not a practical look. I don't recommend it.
Yeah, it's super impractical, but was a big thing for a long time. Still is some places.
But let's see. We got chapter 71 is where we're starting off. It's an interlude chapter, the thrice locked box. The thrice locked chest. Yeah. And in this chapter, the mayor comes in, wants to get some secret papers done, and Kvothe and Bast head up to his room where Bast tries to figure out how to open the thrice locked chest.
Yeah, it's short, obviously. Does reveal quite a few things though about old Kvothe and the situation here, but the mayor, as I would expect, is kind of a dick.
He didn't seem so much like a dick to me, more just, thinks of himself in a more highfalutin way, like he's a big fucking deal.
But that and just like the ordering a drink, but like I'm not gonna pay the real price. You know that, right? Like I'm not gonna pay what it costs. You're going to give it to me, and I'm going to pay you what I want to pay.
He didn't say I'm not going to pay.
I won't pay more than a penny for it, mind you. Now, that could be I'm ordering cheap-ass wine, or it could also be like, I want,
I took that more as like, I'm not going to get, gypped here. Like, you're not going to I'm not one of these simple fools that comes in here and you sell, a half penny whiskey for a penny. It's like, I'm paying what it should cost, not what you're charging. Well, and how I took it.
And more importantly, the beginning, I was wondering if Kvothe has a sense, or his sense of hearing is way above everybody else's in the end.
Yeah, because it said wordlessly, Kvothe brought out a worn deck of cards and began to deal them around the table. Bast picked up his cards and looked them over curiously. Chronicler frowned. What? Footsteps sounded on the wooden landing outside, and the door to the Waystone Inn opened, revealing a bald, thick-bodied man wearing an embroidered jacket. So, yeah, I was curious about that, too. I'm curious whether Kvothe has something outside that signals him, because we don't hear about him having, just outrageously good hearing in the story. I can't think of any situation where his, hearing is just, whoa. But I could see a situation where he set up something that signals him when someone comes up, comes to the Waystone Inn, something that he's got outside where they step on some wooden plank or something that, sets off some kind of, some sigildry or something that he's got set up outside.
It makes sense. We know we've seen enough that seems like something that would be totally doable. And the sense that the fact that he's hiding, it's practical that he would have something like that.
Yeah. So that's kind of where my mind goes, is that he might be, guarding against it that way. Because sigildry also wouldn't take any kind of sympathy. It could have been a device that he'd already created, and he just set it up outside. That wouldn't take him being able to use magic currently, because we've seen him try to use sympathy and not be able to do it. So sigildry, he would be, if he already had the sigildry made, it's be just using the device rather than having to create something.
Yeah, so something crafted.
That could that could be the case. But beyond that, the guy comes in and he's like, Kvothe and Bast go upstairs, and Kvothe's like, I wonder what old Lant wants to keep secret. Hope he's not too long about it. And Bast says he's got 2 children by the widow Creel. Really? Bast shrugged. Everyone in town knows. So old his mayor, you kind of acted like he's a little bit of a dick, but then we find out that he's cheating on his wife and he has a whole nother family. Oh, he's very popular with people. So it just blew up. Everybody knows. They still elected him mayor. He's got 2 families. He's got your family likes you. He's got an entirely second one. And he's leaving them stuff. He's making he's making a deal to leave them some stuff in his will. So this dude like really turned around the characterization right there. That he is super popular, super cool. Everybody loves him. You're totally wrong.
I love how you're turning this into like a positive. That he's has two families.
Yeah, don't you feel foolish?
Yeah. Yes, I have egg on my face on this one.
Yeah, everybody loves it, man. Everybody in town. But yeah, and then so Bass is like asking what they're gonna do, and Kvothe, he's like, "You could teach me lessons," and so they come up with Bass doesn't want to do any kind of book lessons. Says, "All right, so a puzzle lesson then." Bass face broke into a grin. "Very well. Let me think for a second." He tapped his fingers against his lips and let his eyes wander the room. Wasn't long before they were drawn to the foot of the bed where the dark chest lay. He made a casual gesture. "How would you open my chest if you had a mind to?" Which is this part's real interesting to me because we see that it's obviously weighing on him pretty big in the first one, but he doesn't make an attempt to open it in the first book. And then we see it here again. He's drawn to it, and he asks Bass to open it. So the first time you go through it, you're not thinking that Kvothe doesn't have any ability to open this chest. And then you find out, towards the end, when Kvothe tries to open it, gets the keys for it and everything, and is completely dejected when he can't get it open. And then you're like, oh shit. So there's something major fucking going on here. Like he can't fucking, whether it's his box or he got it from someone else, it's his chest, or he stole it from someone. Regardless, whatever's locked inside, he desperately wants right now, and he can't get to it. So it's not just that he's asking Bass, giving him a cool puzzle. He's also seeing, if Bass can come up with any ideas that can help him.
Yeah, when you first read through it, it just reminds me of like Abinthy with Kvothe. Kvothe is playing the Abinthy role, giving him a puzzle, because again, we don't know that he can't get into it. Finding that out, that kind of changes everything when you read through it. There's more like, it's more kind of somber and kind of sad because he can't get into it. So Bash just goes into it with like, initially he just tries to solve it, and then it's kind of like wild abandonment when he's trying to like get into it. But
well, at first he's like, "You're thrice like chest rushy." Yeah, Kvothe looked at his student, and then laughter bubbled up out of him. "My what?" he asked incredulously. Bass blushed and looked down. "That's just how I think of it," he mumbled. As names go, Kvothe hesitated, a smile playing around his mouth. "Well, it's a little storybook, don't you think? You're the one who made the thing, Rushy," Bass said sullenly. 3 locks and fancy wood and all that. It's not my fault if it sounds storybook. It's a fine name, Bass. Just caught me a little off guard is all. But I like that part. My what? Because that's how everybody thinks of it too. Now, after we read that, from then on, the way it's described as the thrice locked chest or the thrice locked box, people, that gets interchanged. But yeah, so it was a good name because it caught on.
Bast has a knack for naming. It seems he has some skill with it.
I like the. So, how would you attempt to plunder the thrice locked chest of Kvothe the Bloodless? Bass smiled. You sound like a pirate when you say it that way, Rushy. But yeah, he's trying to. He doesn't know. He can't get into it. Obviously, whatever's happened to him is preventing. No, I shouldn't say that. I think it's likely that whatever happened to him is preventing him from being able to open the box. There's probably naming is required and opening the box, and he doesn't seem to have that ability anymore. So I think that likely when he changed his name, I think shaping was probably involved in it, and that fundamentally changed him. It's not just like he's going by a different name. I think he was fundamentally changed where now he doesn't have the ability to name or use sympathy because he lost all the work that led up to him gaining all those abilities. I think he's lost him now. And I also think that's why he can't really do the ADEM movements and skills. Like he still has the memory of how to do the movements and that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But when he tried to utilize them, he couldn't do it. So I think what's happened is he's lost by changing, who he is. He's lost those, the abilities, the muscle memory, and that kind of aspect of, the building his alar and whatever it is about the sleeping mind. I think all those things, his muscle memory and the alar and the sleeping mind, I think all those disappear when he fundamentally changed himself. So he doesn't have those anymore. So that's why I think he can't get in the boxes. I think he needs to name or something along those lines to be able to do it. But now that he's Kvothe, he can't name, so he can't get in there. So he's asking Bast because he wants to see if there's some idea that Bast can think of that he hasn't thought of as a way to circumvent whatever it is that he's done to keep the box, from being opened by a stranger. It could also be not his box, but I think that's less likely.
I was going to say, that's one hell of a way to lock it. How would you happen to ever get into it? Like, if he did create it, if he did make the box, and he has the locks and he has the keys and all this shit, and he has his own special way of doing or having a lock which needs to be undone with naming, what the fuck? How would anyone ever get into this thing?
Yeah. Yeah, some people think, like he's locked his name in the chest, and I don't think that. Like, I don't get I think that's too storybook. I don't think that you can literally lock a name in a box. I don't even know what that would mean to do that. It just doesn't seem like something Rothfuss would do. It seems like that would be a story, like Jax locked the name of the moon inside the box. Like, that's the story of what he did, but I think it's fundamentally he does something different. Like, the truth behind the story is probably has something to do with naming, but it's different than that. When you actually learn exactly what the person does, I think it's different than that. But regardless, what I think it could be is that there's items that he needs to. One possibility I think it could be is that, let's say Denna sacrificed herself to shut the doors of stone, and she had to go in there. Like, they opened them, but then ultimately she goes behind the doors and locks it from the inside and shuts it again. And Kvothe is in a situation where he can't open those because it could destroy the world. But he's so tied to Denna and so desperately in love with her that he knows that he will be tempted to do it again. So what if he changed who he is fundamentally, put the stuff in the chest, changed who he is fundamentally, so that now things that he needs to open the doors of stone are in the chest, and then he has like Ari shape his name and change him into something else, and now even if he wanted to get into the chest, he's not able to because Ari fundamentally changed who he is, or something along those lines. I could see the story going down a path like that, is, because you're thinking it doesn't seem like there would be much behind, locking your loot in the chest, because like you could just go buy another loot.
Yeah.
So it's got to be something that he needs for like some purpose.
Well, it seems like it would be, why lock it in a way that you can't get to it? It's something that you should not. It's something that you need to prevent yourself from being able to do, and it does tie in, at least in my mind, to Lanre and Lyra, in that he did something that he shouldn't have done, but he couldn't help himself because he loved her, right? So for the sake of trying to save her, he goes to the Kvothe, right? Or he does something that is regrettable, that hurts the world in itself and turns him into Haliax. So some bit of a similarity with Kvothe is that whatever he did and what he could then undo or create additional problems in the world, preventing himself from that would be locking whatever it is in the box. I don't know.
Yeah. It could also be that he locked like his cloak and his rings and all those kind of things. Like, he locked his memories, things that would remind him of who he is. He locked all that stuff away because he doesn't want to be reminded. It could be that. I just think that there's something more. It's more important, like that. The thing with chest that, though, is so hard to open, and it seems like it would have to be something that it's dangerous it's dangerous for the world if he can get in the thrice locked chest.
I would agree more with that, because if it's the sentimental novelty items that remind him of his past, why does he hang up the sword?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That those sort of oppose one another,
Yeah.
in terms of the logical sequence. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I've always had in my mind. I don't know. I don't really have a good guess. I think it is something that would unleash hell on the earth. Whatever he did, whatever he did and then did to try to undo what he did or prevent it getting worse than it got, I feel like that's what is now in the box, right? It's what would get him back to where he was, that unleashed some hell that's still out, right? There's Scrael, and we've talked about this a number of times where, there's Scrael, and there's the stupid, what do you call them?
Skin dancers.
Yeah, there's strippers bumping around all throughout the world now that are killing people. So there's those things that have been unleashed. But yeah, it does make a lot of sense what you're saying about he obviously lost something of himself, because he doesn't have the capabilities that he had prior, in so many different ways and shapes that they're showing us.
Another reason I think that it could be that Denna gets behind, is now locked behind the doors of stone, is that I think what they unleash some things, but I think ultimately that they have to keep Ajax locked behind there, or put him back behind there, because if he's unleashed on the world, and like Bast, it doesn't seem concerned about the Fae, that he's like, Ajax is fundamentally changing the Fae or taking over the Fae, and Kvothe doesn't seem overly concerned like that, the end of the world is coming. He just thinks he's fucked shit up, but does he think like that everybody is doomed? Doesn't really seem like that. He's having Chronicler write a book that people are going to read. It would seem like if you're like, I doom the world and it's all over.
Well, and they're still talking about the road, and they're talking about the taxes, and they're talking about, those problems that exist.
Like, I mean, like why if they're focused on, and he's trying to keep people from going into the war and that kind of stuff and joining the army, you'd think like if it was a situation where he had put the world on a position where it's going to be destroyed, he wouldn't be hiding. He would be trying to fix his mistake.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. So it seems like he did as much as he can do, and now he's just hiding so he doesn't cause more damage.
Yeah.
Maybe is one part of it.
Because that's what I think. Like that's why I think it's because he's not out there trying to fix the problem he created. I think it's a situation where he's like, I don't want to make it worse, and if I'm Kvothe, then that possibility is there. And so I think
maybe
that it would most likely if it was a situation where he had to he would be tempted to save Denna, and saving Denna would fuck shit up much worse. That would be a reason for him to change his name and to hide whatever it is that he uses to open the doors of stone, to put those things in a thrice locked chest that he can't get into, change his name so now he can't fuck shit up anymore, and then just go and wait to die, so that you're the potential danger that you represent is eliminated once you're dead. So could be why he's just chilling, waiting to die.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot more sense too, because it's not like he's hiding from people coming to get him and cause him harm. He's hiding so those that could come and convince him to try and do good can't find him, because if they can find him and convince him to do good again, that good can only do bad in his eyes. You know what I'm saying? Like he tried to prevent the problem that he created. Plus he could just be down and out little emo guy, like, he's the reason Ari's dead or something, and he doesn't want to do worse. So that's why he's hiding from those who could convince him to try again. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. Yeah, I think, he's blames himself for what's going on, and I also think so. I mean, that's obviously going to weigh in on him, but the fact that he's not out there trying to fix the problem, I think, is he believes that he can't make things better. Like, there's nothing he can do to make them better. He can only make them worse. And so I think he sees himself as a danger to the world. And I don't think it's just like, I make bad decisions, so now I'm going to hide. Because I don't, it's not his personality. I think he gets used and in a way where he's set down a path where, he opens the doors of stones and he realizes, like, they can't open these doors without me. That's, one of the things I'm needed for is my blood. And so if people don't have access to my blood, they think I'm dead. They won't come looking for me to try to use me to get those doors open.
So that kind of feeds. So for the first part of what you said, doesn't fit his personality. His personality would be fix the problem that he's created, because he's done that every other way that we've seen.
And
the other part of what you're saying there, though, is if he was utilized to open the door, being that of the blood, he was fucking duped. He was used, right?
Yeah.
In a way, he was used by somebody, right, to get them open, whether it was the Chandrian or the Amir or whomever it was, Brandor maybe, whoever it was that got him, or Braden, not Brandor, Braden.
Yeah.
Well, some random fucking teacher at the university. Yeah. It was Jameson. Jameson convinced him to open up the doors.
But no, if he was going to make one of the teachers be like the ultimate villain, one of the teachers that would surprise you, it would be Mandrake, because obviously fucking Rothfuss does not like that guy. Like, Mandrake, like, what question would you like to ask, Mandrake? Pass. But
then he squeezed him out of the Kindle version of one of the chapters too.
Yeah,
or it was literally just a sentence, but he wasn't mentioned.
Yeah. Well, he mentions every other teacher except for Mandrake, and
except in the. Yeah, I was going to say, in the print copy, he's there.
And he, when all the other teachers ask a question, Mandrake's the only one to pass. But
didn't him and Ari have Devi have a problematic back and forth?
No, that was Arwell, the sympathist teacher.
Oh, yeah. All right.
But with Kvothe, if Kvothe was like the tool that's needed to open the doors of stone and he's in hiding, that would more fit his personality, because it's not just like, oh man, I'm such a loser, I'm gonna go fucking hide away, so I don't cause any more problems. It's like, no, they need me to open this door, so in order to protect the world, I have to go hide. Yeah. And so it would eat at him too, because he would be like, he would want to go fucking help people and to stop what's going on and to do something about it, like we see with the Scrael. When the Scrael come in town, he goes and immediately goes and puts himself in danger to protect that town. So he's not he doesn't look at himself as like, well, I better not go fuck with the Scrael, I'll only make it worse. No, he goes out there and does something about it and fucking kills the Scrael. So he's still that kind of person. So I would think it makes more sense that he's hiding to protect the world, because of, someone could utilize him as a tool. And so that would be a more heroic fitting end for Kvothe, is that, in order to help the world and make up for his mistakes, he's got to go fake his death and go into hiding. And then now he's just waiting to die so that no one can use him.
It makes the dynamics of the box much more, makes it make a lot more sense. That's not really the way I'm trying to put it. It makes it sort of fit cleaner, or more precisely, you know what I mean? It fits more I think it fits more precisely. It's kind of like with why I prefer the version of Braden as as Master Ash, because it sort of fits in more precisely than other reasonings. This is definitely a bit more speculative in terms of, well, what's the reasoning behind it, and what.
Yeah, I mean, it could be any kind of million things. the reason like I go down that route is because I think it makes more sense that he's in hiding because that's the best way for him to protect the world versus, but he still has, because we still see he has that desire to protect. We see it in the when he's in the bar and when he fights the Grail and those kind of things. He still has a desire to protect people. So why isn't he out there,
Especially
ending
if it's
the
his
war
fault.
or, going hunting the Grail or hunting
Yeah.
skin dancers, trying to solve these problems. And so he wants to be the hero still. So, but the way to be the hero in this situation is to sacrifice his desires to be out in the world doing something. It's to hide away, fake his death and hide away. But you still would get that his desire to just get back out there. So that thrice locked box, the thrice locked chest would be a good tool as he's the way for him to get back to become Kvothe again. He's prevented that from happening, or even not, maybe even not to become Kvothe again. Maybe it's to get, behind the doors of stone. You need these items, and he's locked those in there. And so it's kind of a double protection. Not only is he cannot become Kvothe again, which is needed, he also you can't get in that thrice locked box to get whatever these items are. But you still would have that his desire being like, fuck it, man. I know it's the wrong thing to do, but I still want to fucking do it.
Elodin's in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's locked in there with his socks.
And when he pops out, he's like, blue, blue, blue. Oh, Elodin is so blue. He's all depressed because he's been just locked away in this box for over a year.
And the whole time his name was Edro. It wasn't Elodin.
Yeah.
That was his name.
Yeah, Kvothe wasn't trying to open the box. He just was like, when he says, like, because he says Edro at one point when he uses the keys. But he wasn't trying to. He was just like, Edro, I miss you so much, Elodin.
I thought maybe he was trolling him. Maybe they had a falling out. He's like, remember what I did.
Just teasing him with the locks, like, oh, look, it's unlocking. Oh, Edro.
The one who brings the blood really holds all this together in quite a nice way as well. And I think that's the biggest part of it. That really ties it all sort of in. Not precisely, because again, a lot of this is still loose and it's kind of open, but for interpretation, we don't know how individuals are going to fit, but we get into it a little bit here, not real precisely with Denna, but we've talked about it, and with her, what she's learning and the unknown sort of secret magic that she's learning. I think she is a key, because I think there has to be that other magic that's going to be key, and I think shaping also is going to play a big part of it too. So we'll have Ari and maybe Devi and all these characters are going to be involved in some way. But yeah, I think Kvothe will have to, as you were saying, fundamentally alter himself, have himself be altered, and then have to prevent himself from undoing that puzzle.
Yeah.
And I think this is kind of like a half-hearted attempt at like trying to undo it, to some degree, right? Either that or he's picking a scab,
Yeah.
He's just like, he's playing like some masochistic shit and just making himself feel worse by having Bass try to do what he can't do.
Yeah. I mean,
because and actually that metaphor even kind of works on its surface. Sorry, I was just going to say, even the metaphor itself sort of works on its surface, where it's like, it's not a very useful lesson. He's like, you've deduced a universal truth. Things are usually unfair. And that's kind of a big part of what he's throwing here, where it's very fatherly, the whole back and forth, where he's like, throwing puns at him and doing the, life is unfair. The sooner you learn that, the better type situation that plays out.
Yeah. And one of the locks is made out of copper, which again, I think copper likely is something you can't name for some reason. Mm-hmm. And, maybe it's maybe copper is not something that's mined or something like that, or it was created by Ajax, through shaping or something along those lines. like it's an element that was created through shaping. But regardless, copper is one of the locks, so if you can't open that with naming, then it could be that without that key, even if you were a namer, you still would need to be able to unlock that copper lock, and you can't do it with naming. So that's just like shows like these multiple layers of how to lock this box, so it can't even just be opened by a namer.
Yeah, the copper is interesting because of what we've had with Elodin in the tower and all that use of copper, and the fact that a number of times that's been insinuated. I also like just on its face that it's copper, because as far as I know, copper is like one of the easier metals to like work with in making things.
Yeah.
Yet he puts it in a way, Rothfuss uses it in a way within the book for its opposite, where it's like it's not able to be utilized in the way that they control things. Like nobody knows it. Nobody can know the name of it or something. Until somebody does. Maybe Kvothe does. No, I guess not, because he uses it in the lock, doesn't he? Or maybe he did, and then he had himself altered, and now he doesn't know. I don't know. Does he have a copper key?
Yeah, he's got the keys for the chest, and he uses both of them. Like he's got to turn them in different ways and stuff to get them to click to unlock. So there's a puzzle to that. Like he sticks it in all the way, pulls it out halfway, turns it, those kind of things. So there's a method as far as it's not even just stick the key in and turn it. There's more to the lock than even that. But he does have both keys for the iron and copper. I believe so. I could not 100%, but fairly certain that he has both keys. But yeah, still, even with the keys, he can't get in. And then the no hinges. It's also like the thrice lock box. I mean the lackless box. So I think it's highly likely that he's able to open that box at some point. I think that's going to have to do with the Yillish knots. He's going to, once he learns to read Yillish knots, it's going to explain how to open that lackless box for him.
There's no, they don't insinuate, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's no insinuation on this box, on the chest, that there are those minute etchings like there is in the lackless box, right?
No, I don't think so. At least I don't remember it being mentioned that there is.
Although he may have lost his beautiful hands, the beauty in his hands. He may have lost that touch.
Well, the reason he couldn't feel the lines in that lackless box, it was because they were old and worn away. I don't get the feeling that this is like a super old thrice lock.
Well, I
chest.
mean, if Bast is right, if what he's saying is true, then Reshi made it, and if he made it, then it wouldn't. Yeah, but you're saying he couldn't feel it. You mean initially?
No, I'm saying the reason that like you can't see the lines or that Maelwyn and the mayor can't feel them is not because that's how it was intended. It was because the lines had mostly worn away through time.
I gotcha.
So that wouldn't be the situation with this. If he'd made this thrice lock box, you would think would be able to feel those lines or see them.
I gotcha.
But yeah, and so then there's also the line where when Bast knocks on it, and Kvothe says, "Out of curiosity, what would you do if something knocked back?" A lot of people think that there is like cinder inside the box or something along those lines. But I don't think Kvothe, if it's cinder, I don't think Kvothe would be looking longingly at this box and being like desperate to open it, like sad, seeming sad and melancholy about it or frustrated. There would be anger or something along. You would think a different emotional, context to him not being able to open this box. Doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me if it's cinder.
It could be his Slam Jam poetry partner.
Yeah.
That's why he's longing, because
it's because these are humans, so they would be dead unless they got like a a replicator in there that allows them to disappear well, they might not pee or poop, so that might not be a problem. But the food and water would be a major fucking issue that you would have to
Unless
resolve.
it's Haliax, right?
Yeah.
Haliax can't die.
Yeah, unless it's an immortal. So it's unlikely that Ambrose is now an immortal. But what it could be is that the original notes where they created their slam jam poetry together, and they had the music sheets and all that kind of stuff, all those are in the box. And he's really wishing like he could collect those and put those together and put them in a book, and have the original works of Kvothe and Ambrose.
The only problem with that theory is he's very good at memorizing songs.
Yeah, but
so
this
really
is
need it.
Yeah, but this is in Ambrose's handwriting.
Oh, well, okay.
You lost that. You can't make that back up because he's probably killed Ambrose.
Well, we did kind of skip over, which I thought it was worth mentioning. Bass leans forward, breathes against the lock. When nothing happens, his mouth began to move. While his words were spoken too softly to hear, they carried an undeniable tone of entreaty. It sounded like he was doing either like gramarye or he's trying to name something.
Whatever that magic is, he does the same thing with the little fucking thorn thing that they put around their head.
The gramarye, yeah. I mean, because it's him, I thought of that, but then I'm also remembering he is a student, so maybe he's starting to try to name.
Well, when he describes that, he says, "I put whatever gramarye I could bear on that."
No, I mean, no, I understand.
That's why it's likely gramarye.
Yeah, no, I hear it.
Because it's the same. I mean, it's the same thing. He breathes on it and says some words,
Mm-hmm.
exactly the same thing, and he described it as gramarye the last time, so it's almost surely gramarye again.
I did when Kvothe does ask him, what would you do if it knocked back? It makes me laugh every time. That was pretty great.
Yeah, and then so Bass gets an axe and he tries to hatchet it, and we get that this thing. He's like, "How much does this weigh, Rushy?" Bass explained, looking rather exasperated. 300 pounds, over 400 when it's empty. Kvothe said. Remember the trouble we had getting it up the stairs? 400 pounds empty.
Some crazy wood, man.
That's a heavy ass fucking chest. That's like a gun safe.
And the idea of no seam, like the whole thing is just like this Bass little task here would frustrate the bejesus out of me. I hate shit like this. Like this would really this would bother me a whole hell of a lot.
When he talks about that, remember the trouble we had getting it up the stairs. The thing that it gives me flashbacks of having to move a massive gun safe out of a basement and back into another basement, because it took 4 of us, 2 lifting with straps tied to it, 2 lifting with straps, pulling it up the stairs, and then 2 of us at the bottom pushing it up the stairs, and then also had to go back into another basement and move it down, where 2 of us are letting it down, at the bottom, where it's like, man, if the 2 people on top let this go, this thing's probably just gonna roll right over us and we're fucking dead. It was so damn heavy. Like, even with four dudes, and none of us were like fucking weak dudes. We all fucking were strong. Where lifting shit was not that big of a fucking deal, but this thing was heavy as shit. It was intense. It was intense the whole time moving it in and out. And so when they're like talking about, like, I'm guessing they're not using like a the
pole cart
fucking
something?
The little pulley or dolly and straps and stuff. Guessing they're not utilizing those things.
Whatever helps, man.
Very fucking tough to move something upstairs without a fucking dolly and something where it makes it roll.
Last time I moved a refrigerator, it fell on me up, and then moving the other one down fell on me down. It was fun. This was a good time. It's a lot of good fun. I love moving stuff. It's so fun.
Yeah, it's the best. It's the best.
That's why you get paid for it, because it's so fun. That's why.
But yeah, and then so there's not really much to it after that. Like, he talks about, like, after he tries to hack it apart, and he's like, the bright leaf-shaped blade refused to bite into the wood, each blow turning aside as if Bass were attempting to chop apart a great seamless block of stone. And he's like, I try to set fire to it, but I know Roa doesn't burn. I'd have better luck getting it hot enough so the copper lock would melt. But to do that, I'd need a whole thing to sit face down in a forge fire. And then he talks about, like, trying to pour acid down the locks. And you get that Kvothe has also thought about this too, because when he talks about, like, the acid, Kvothe's like, Formaic is useless against Roa, as is Muriatic. You might have some luck with Aqua Regius, but the wood's quite thick and we don't have that much on hand. And so Kvothe has obviously thought about these things too. Mm-hmm. Like, you're getting that, like, he's sitting there like, how could I he's like, maybe I could use acid on this. But then he's like, well, no, I would need this kind of acid. There's just not enough of that in town. So he's already been thinking about this kind of shit, and you get a little hint of that there. But yeah, and then Bass is like, I was thinking about the locks, and Kvothe's like, well, if you do that, you might ruin whatever's inside. Same thing, with the fire, you could ruin what's inside of it.
Yeah, it's quite a problem he's posed here. I like the hatchet thing too. Is like, well, I like it. It again would be frustrating as shit. It's literally doing nothing.
Yeah,
like you're doing nothing. It's like that's crazy to think. This wood is well, and that's the thing about the wood too. We heard about the frame and how expensive that was. It sounds like this thing's like basically almost priceless.
Yeah,
like a whole chest of this wood is like ridiculously extravagantly expensive.
And if you give me a hatchet, and I could put some marks into stone, like, even if I can't break it, I'm gonna be able to mark it up and fucking put some chips in it at least. For maybe the hatchet might break before I do any real damage to the rock, but or the stone. But I'm at least gonna be able to mark it up. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this wood is pretty fucking sturdy. Yeah, and then so Bass, like, that's all I have, Rushy. I'll need to think on it some more. Both nodded, looking somewhat disheartened. Bass gathered up his tools and carried them away. That's another hint. His looking disheartened, that he was hoping to get some kind of clue on something that he hadn't thought of. And Bass obviously didn't come up with any ideas that he hadn't thought of himself. He's like, it was a good attempt, Bass. Kvothe reassured him. Very methodical. You went about it just as I would have. And again, it seems like Kvothe probably has gone down these paths, because as soon as he brought up the acid, Kvothe starts running down a list of different acids. So yeah, and then the mayor, the super popular, awesome mayor, lets them know that he's done, and they head back down, and Kvothe jumps back into his story. Oh, well, before that, Bass knocks his papers to the ground and tries to pick them up. Kvothe's like, no, leave them. Yeah. Doesn't let him fucking touch those.
Yeah, I was going to say that he's pretty serious about what he wrote there. Does not want even a chance that someone else sees it, apparently.
But yeah, that is all I got for chapter 71.
Yeah.
All right, so chapter 72 is titled Horses, and in this chapter, Kvothe heads out looking for Denna, finds her, trails her. She goes into an alley, fights a big old jerk, and then the girl that she rescues from the big old jerk, she takes her into a bar, and Kvothe eavesdrops on them.
Yeah, I forgot why it was titled Horses, and then you get it as you get through it.
Yeah.
The comparison there. It's kind of funny. It starts out with Kvothe writing a seal song, basically, for old Mellowin.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not
Sing
sure
it.
what that is.
You remain my pleasure, something, my pain.
I don't know what that is.
Baby.
I was going, oh, okay, that part I know. Then you're going into the kiss.
It's literally the song that you're talking about.
I don't actually know it. I just know, like, the chorus is "Kiss from a Rose," so nothing
Well,
but roses.
at least people got to hear some good fucking
Yeah,
talent.
you really killed it there. Just phenomenal.
I made great musical noises with my mouth, and then my my vocals it's like butter.
The key, God, the key though, the key is you should be just like stabbing your cheekbones with forks as you sing it.
You're a jerk. You're a big.
Because he's got all those marks on his. No, nothing. Okay, all right.
But yeah, so yeah, he writes that song "Nothing But Roses." The mayor specifically requested it, and I had leapt to the project with a will, knowing that Denna would laugh herself sick when I played it for her. And then he never plays it for her. Never plays it for her.
We didn't hear any. We don't hear any of these. Any of these. It sounds like he wrote some good shit, poems and songs and whatnot for the mayor for this whole courting.
Yeah, he was laying down some like Boys to Men level fucking love songs. Bryan Adams.
Is that what she's into? You think that's what Mellowan's into?
For sure, yeah. She's like, I want a song that's titled "Nothing But Roses." Yeah, she's definitely.
That's what he wanted, not what she wanted.
Yeah, but he wants it because she fucking is all about that shit.
Yeah, I guess.
Wait, 100% is. Kvothe has been writing her, these romantic fucking love ballads and poetry to woo her. So yeah, she'd definitely be into Bryan Adams. She'd be that song from the Robin Hood movie. Like she's listening to that. She listened to that at least fucking 1,000 times in the first week it came out.
What if nothing?
She listens to Adele like if after a rough breakup, she's like fucking sitting in her room listening to Adele for a week.
What if Nothing But Roses actually sounds like a Led Zeppelin tune?
No.
What about that?
That's Kelvin. You're thinking Kelvin. If you're writing love songs to Kelvin, yes. It's going to be some Led Zeppelin, some fucking AC/DC.
Some Guns N' Roses.
No, he wouldn't. He would not be into 80s rock. 60s, 70s.
What AC/DC's? I mean, AC/DC's been around since like the fucking 60s, but they were big in the 80s.
They're big forever, but their music is more era wise. Their music is 60s, 70s type rock. They don't really. Their shit doesn't sound like the 80s hair band.
No, that I would agree with.
It's more along the lines of like Led Zeppelin or Queen or that era of rock. But yeah, so
Kvothe becomes a full-on stalker, hesitantly at first, but then just goes all in.
Yeah, he's pretty good at it because like he
is good
loses her down an alley. Like, he's like, these streets weren't dangerous, strictly speaking, or rather they were dangerous in a broken glass sort of way. Broken glass won't go out of its way to hurt you. You can even touch it if you're careful. Some streets are dangerous as frothing dogs, where no amount of care will keep you safe. But when she turns down an alley, he fucking climbs up a building. Climbs up the side of this building to get onto the roof to continue fucking stalking after her.
He's like a feral squirrel. It sounded like he got all the way up there. But yeah, it takes you back to Tarbeen, where you're like, just sort of picturing how he still has that capability.
And it further cements like he just doesn't get Denna in the way that he should because of his own fucking personality. Because he's like, but if I didn't follow her, I'd lose her. And while this wasn't a truly dangerous part of the city, I didn't want to leave her walking alone so late at night. Like, she don't need your fucking help. She's doing this every day, dude. Yeah. Like, this is what she does. She lives this life.
Yeah, it's baked into his the way that he sees the relationship. He can't shake it. He can't shake that. And it plays out throughout these 2 chapters where it goes really badly for him because of that.
Yeah.
He just can't see things from her perspective. But yeah, that's a funny little mention of it. But yeah, he does a good job of keeping his eye out and sees Denna handle some shit.
Yeah. Yeah, this dim lamplight from an upstairs window showed a woman splayed out motionless on the ground. My heart thudded hard for several beats until I realized it wasn't Denna. And he was like, oh, that's just some random woman. Who gives a shit about her? But his Denna was dressed in shirt and pants. This woman's white dress crumpled around her, her bare legs pale against the dark stone of the street. And then he sees Denna outside the window's light. She stood close to a broad-shouldered man with moonlight shining on his bald head. Was she embracing him? Was this her patron? Finally, my eyes adjusted enough that I could see the truth. The two were standing very close and still, but she wasn't holding him. She had one hand hard against against his neck, and I saw white moonlight glitter on the metal there, like a distant star. So she's got this dude with a knife to his throat.
Mm-hmm.
He must have been on top of this girl, and she came up from behind and, snatched him up and has a knife held to his throat, threatening to slit his throat. That's how little she needs fucking Kvothe.
Yeah.
She shows up, and when a dude's raping a woman, she steps in and fucking saves the girl and puts this dude in a life or death situation.
Yeah, and he's kind of a big dude, right? If I remember right.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Broad-shouldered, at least.
Yeah, I mean it doesn't really say how big he is, but he's a fucking dude in a dark alley trying to rape a woman, and clearly he's a dangerous person.
Yeah,
and so and then when Denna lets him go and he squares up on her and he's like taking steps towards her, she's like, "Dude, I will cut your fucking testicles off." Yeah. Like, I'm not going to try to stab you in the eye. I'm going to fucking stab you in your nutsack, man. Like, is this really worth it?
Yeah, she makes pretty clear, and it's effective, that she will slice up his dick and balls, and it works.
Like,
that threat works.
Look, dude, your whole thing is you love raping women. You're not going to fucking be able to do that if you come at me.
Jeez. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like this guy was not a nice guy. I think he's a bad man.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say he's kind of a mean.
Unlike
kind of a mean
the
guy.
mayor who you mischaracterized, who turned out to be like super fucking cool, really popular.
Yeah,
this guy
super cool.
This guy sounds like a big old fucking jerk. I like just the fucking he's got a fucking prostitute and he's trying to rape her. Like, what the fuck, dude? Like, how?
It's pretty bad.
You have a girl that will have sex with you for money, and you're like, no, fuck that. I'm not fucking spending a dime. I'm just going to fucking rape you. Like, dude, you're as low as it gets. Like, even amongst rapists, which are pretty fucking universally seen as lowlifes, you're like the lowest bottom of the barrel rapist.
It could be about the money, and the sick thing is that for some, it's not even about the money. You know what I mean? Like some serial killers out there, it's not even about the money. It's literally just the gross, like, horrible.
Well, yeah, 100%. Like, I mean, it's almost anybody who's doing some awful shit like that, they got fucking something's wrong with them. They got some wires crossed in their head where they get some fucking kink out of overpowering people.
Yeah,
but yeah, like, I mean, yeah, what a fucking dirtbag. But yeah, Denna fucking saves this girl, puts him in his fucking place. He fucking goes walking off with his tail between his legs like a little bitch.
This is definitely one of those chapters that builds out the world in a pretty grimy way. You know, like just the existence of this underbelly of the world, you know, having to navigate this world in Denna's shoes and this girl's shoes, the prospects of what she's facing, the fact that guys like this dude exist. Of course they exist. You don't think about it. You know, as you're reading the book and you're going through the town, you're not thinking about guys like this. Although, you know, we had Pike and Tarbine. We had plenty of pieces of shit, violence, and, you know, all this stuff. But it's Yeah,
it's
this
just the
chapter
world.
really
The world
confronts-
is much darker because like I'll hear a lot of people say like it's kind of like an adult Harry Potter's, and it's like, man, that's selling it to someone as that, like they're coming in thinking, this is Harry Potter, but like a more adult version. It's like they're, I hope they're ready for a much more adult version of a story. The first book, it's more subtle. Like the murder is happens off scene. The rape is more
It's
subtly
insinuated,
talked
it's
about.
not-
Yeah, it's not,
it's not in your face.
but yeah, this book, I mean, it's more explicit on, some of the darker parts of the world. It's not like in significant portions of the book. It's just, in a few mentions here and there. And then like, especially with the two girls he rescues, it's obviously significant in that moment. But yeah, it's a much fucking darker story than fucking Harry Potter.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't read the Harry Potter books, so I can't speak from experience. But
have you ever seen one of the movies?
Yeah,
yeah, it's more like
it's
something you would
whimsical.
feel comfortable reading to like an 8-year-old.
Yeah, it's Fantasyland. I mean, it's whimsical,
Yeah, I mean, they're obviously I'm not diminishing those books, and people like them or anything are obviously extremely popular, but it is not a story where you're gonna run into situations where some dude is trying to rape a prostitute in an alley and the other girl's like coming up behind him, putting a knife to his throat and threatening to stab the dude in the fucking testicles. Not gonna run into a scene like that in that series.
wouldn't assume so. I was gonna say, I mean, obviously, I like Kvothe's the way he handles it in the bar they go into, but also like how much things have changed when he orders a tumble of your best whiskey and a glass of fine Florin red. It's just that moment in itself. It's like, man, he's come a long way from where he once was, where he could barely afford food. And he basically only buy food if he was under the influence of the plum bob. Other than that, he virtually never ate anything without his meal shit.
Yeah, and it sounds like he's paying for all this shit. He's just selling Cauticus's stuff. Like God.
Yeah, I guess so, right?
Cauticus probably, got people like spying on and was like, man, like fucking all your shit is straight in the pawn shop, man. Like your entire this kid is like selling all your shit. So you're fucking hiding in a little fucking basement. Yeah, motherfucker. You know how long it took me to find that? He sold my alligator? He sold this stuffed alligator?
That's kind of
fucking shit.
Kind of funny to envision. Didn't he? I mean, I thought he got money from the mayor at one point.
He got a bag, to go buy the medicine.
Clothes?
The tea.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But he rolled through that, and then it sounded like he said, like most of the stuff I'd been acquiring because I've been selling stuff out of Cauticus's, like selling all his books and all that kind of shit and equipment. But yeah, and then
poor Cauticus.
Yeah, and
really,
then
really get screwed.
And this girl, like when she came up to him, she eyed the rich fabric of his nerd cloak and smiled. Like she saw that cloak and she's like, "Look at this fucking dork." And he's sitting there. He's like, oh, she sees the rich fabric and she's like thinking I'm big time. Like I got a lot of money because she sees me as Mr. Fancy Pants, and she's like, no, this fucking nerd. He's wearing a cloak. What a fucking dork.
I like the idea that when she goes back to the bar and she's like, hey, see that guy over there? And see the fucking nerd in the cloak that thinks he's super cool?
Yeah.
He gave me a silver talent to leave
that fucking dork over there is going to give me a fucking whole silver fucking whatever. Like whatever the
it doesn't
amount
say,
of money
I just
it was.
called it a talent, but yeah, it sounds like it's a lot.
But yeah, and so then we hear the conversation from the girl and Denna. And you get, your accent. I heard Denna say, "Where are you from?" And then you're just getting pieces. I like this aspect of it too. It's like Kvothe's eavesdropping on them. So he's not hearing every word that they say. He's missing parts of it. He can't hear hardly anything the girl says other than, she gets loud at one point, which would be, it's written in a way where this would be what happens if you're eavesdropping on someone at another table. You're going to hear pieces of their conversation. You're not going to hear it all unless they're just talking super fucking loud and they're really annoying people.
Yeah, you would get little pieces, and especially the emotional parts. And it's great. I mean, the subtlety with how the conversation goes back and forth is great. And I love like little things like Denna saying, "I know he said he loved you." They all say that. And it's like, it's just this continuous like sober recognition or like sober delivery of, here's the situation you're in, and you need to realize how fucking real this is, and just laying it out for. This is fucking massive in building out who Denna is and telling us so much more than what we would have known without it.
Oh yeah, yeah. This is a big reveal chapter for Denna, and like you get, that's in the Western Feral, isn't it? Denna asks. You're a long way from home, and there was a murmuring from the girl, then a long pause where I couldn't hear anything. I couldn't tell if she'd stopped talking or if she was speaking too quietly for me to hear. I fought the urge to lean forward and peer at the table, and then you get, I know he said he loved you. They all say that. And so here's where you start getting pieces of possibly what happened to Denna, where it's like, they all say they love you. And then serving girl set a tall wine glass in front of me, and I handed her my tumble, 2 bits, merciful Telu. With prices like that, no wonder the place was nearly empty. Oh, it was a silver round. Then I drew a full silver round out of my purse, set the heavy coin on the table, and put the empty. And then, and he tells her, leave me alone, and I'll give you the whole thing. But then back to their conversation, you got, obviously Denna asked, what does your father do? It just says, does your father do? Denna asked. I recognized the pitch of her voice. It was the same low, gentle tone my father had used when talking to his skittish animals, a tone designed to calm someone and set them at their ease. The girl murmured, and Denna responded, that's a fine job. What are you doing here, then? Another murmur. Got handsy, did he? Denna said matter-of-factly, well, that's the nature of eldest sons. The girl spoke up again, this time with some fire in her voice, though I still couldn't make out any of the words. He polished off the glass so he can kind of spy on him, uses that like a mirror. And I heard Denna sigh, cutting off the low murmur of the girl's voice. Let me guess, Denna said, sounding exasperated. He stole the silver or something similar, then ran off to the city. The small reflection of the girl just sat there, but it wasn't like you thought it would be, was it? Denna said more gently this time. I could see the girl's shoulders begin to shake and heard a series of faint, heartbreaking sobs. I looked away from the wine glass, set it back on the table. Here. There was the sound of a glass being knocked onto the table. Drink that. It'll help a bit. Not a lot, but a bit. The sobbing stopped. The girl gave a surprised cough, choking a little. You poor silly thing, Denna said softly. Meaning you is worse than looking in a mirror. So you get there, like, he stole the silver or something similar, then ran off to the city. But it wasn't like you thought it would be, was it? So I think it's a situation where this girl gets with some dude who is like, run away with me, and she goes and runs away with him, and then he fucking dips out on her and leaves her, stranded wherever she ended up.
I mean, possibly, or she took off on her own because, like they were saying, the eldest son was getting handsy, and she's like, fuck this noise, I'll make it on.
Oh, yeah, no, it says you stole the silver. Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. I thought it said he stole the silver. So, yeah. Then, yeah, it's the eldest son was tormenting her, and then you stole the silver or something similar. So, she ran off to get away from the guy. And then it wasn't like you thought it would be, was it? So, yeah, then she's in a position where she's got to start. That's why she becomes a prostitute. I thought if he's going to take me anyway and get it for free, I might as well go somewhere I can pick and choose and get paid for it. So she left to kind of become a fucking prostitute.
Yeah, I mean, clearly she kind of settled on this, it seems. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like she, she's getting basically raped, and she's like, fuck it, I'll just go somewhere else and just become a prostitute and get paid. And
so is the Tenpenny King, is that like a play? I mean, it's to me, it sort of insinuates that.
Sounds like a Cinderella type tale.
Yeah, like
where
she's sort of thinking she can. Yeah.
she's gonna find her fucking Prince Charming, is what it sounds like. It sounds like one of those type of stories, like Prince Charming rescues the poor girl. But
Yeah, and Denna, I mean, well, and Denna's whole thing of meeting you is worse than looking in a mirror is very, very clear that she must have had a similar circumstance,
yeah,
right? She went through this at a time, and now she's watching someone else doing the same, going through the same steps, basically.
yeah, yeah, and that's why I think it could be the case that she was being promised to someone who could have been like a complete fucking scumbag or something along those lines, and so she took off. But then you get the 10-penny king. Denna interrupted, incredulously, her tone more venomous than anything I'd ever heard from her before. Kiston Krail. I hate that goddamn play. Modagan fairy story trash. The world doesn't work like that. And the Kristen Krail, that it could just be that she's picked up swear words from some Modagan, or not Modagan.
Sildish?
Yeah, Sealdish. Or it could be that her family's from there or something along those lines. But she starts cussing in Sealdish after she mentions in that note to Kvothe that she met a Sealdish man. She was traveling with a Sealdish man. And then all of a sudden she's cussing in fucking Sealdish for the rest of the books.
That's interesting.
I don't know if there's anything to it, but I mean, the fact that it's written like that, because why is she using Sealdish curse words all of a sudden?
Yeah, maybe that's someone who ends up being quite influential in her life. I don't know.
That's clearly that's clearly a clue to her past, or what's going on behind the scenes. One of the two. It's either her past or things that she's that's happening off screen that we're not seeing. That Kiston Krail, there's something to that, why she's cursing in Sealdish. And if we were following her in her head or knew her past, obviously we would know, but that's obviously a clue, and I would imagine we'll find out why, she's cursing in Sealdish, that this Sealdish man will come into play, or something about her history will explain it, but I think we'll understand why she starts cursing in Sealdish after book 3, is my guess.
One of the biggest, this sort of first paragraph on the next page is huge in really explaining why she is the way she is. The idea that there's no young prince out there dressed in rags and waiting to save you. Even if there were, where would you be? You'd be like a dog he'd found in the gutter. He'd own you. After he took you home, who would save you from him? To me, that's a big part of like what moves her to begin with. Is like, I will not, I'm not going to be kept by someone else. And then on their whim, they change in some way, because she's witnessed this with so many, it seems she's witnessed this with so many different people that, she's very world weary, and she's given this girl the harsh truths that she needs to hear. It seems, at least at this point in her life.
Yeah, and then so like she's like, all right, so what are we gonna do with you? And then the girl obviously says, I can take care of myself, because she goes, if you could take care of yourself, we wouldn't be sitting here. Denna said, a murmur. It's an option. Denna said, they'll take half of what you make, but that's better than getting nothing and having your throat slit on top of it. I'm guessing you figured that out yourself tonight. So obviously she's talking about used car salesmen, where they're getting a 50% commission, but if you sell someone a junker, then, they're going to come back and slit your throat. So,
just talking about getting representation. Or, as they say, a big old pimp.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's most likely what she's talking about there, is becoming a used car salesman is one of her options.
Oh, she wasn't talking about maintaining prostitution. She was talking about getting a side gig, some other job.
Yeah, she's saying option 1 is you can become a used car salesman. Or the girl said, what about a used car salesman? And then that's why Denna said, it's an option. We'll take half of what you make, but that's better than getting nothing and having your throat slit on top of it. I'm guessing you figured that out yourself tonight. So it's a real shady used car car lot, where either the customer or the owner is slitting throats.
Wow.
So that's
actually,
one option.
Again, she's saying you wouldn't be having. It's better than getting nothing and having your throat slit on top of it.
Oh,
You're saying if she was selling cars on her own, then she gets.
Yeah, if she's selling cars on her own, then that's going to be the problem. Someone just cut her throat and take the car.
Yeah, okay.
So, yeah, good catch. I missed that little detail. But, yeah, it just solidifies that she's obviously talking about becoming a used car salesman. But then, let's see what we have here. She said, then there came the familiar clatter of coins on a table. The girl made an awed murmur. No, I'm not, Denna said. It's not so much when it's all the money in the world. It's all your money in the world. You should know by now how expensive it is to make your own way in the city. I heard Denna draw a breath and let it out again slowly. Because someone helped me once when I needed it. And because if you don't get some help, you'll be dead in a span of days. Take it from someone who's made it on her own share of bad decisions. There was a sound of coins sliding on the table. Okay, then it said, first option, we get you apprenticed up. You're a little old, and it will cost, but we could do it. Nothing fancy, weaving, cobbling. They'll work you hard, but you'd have your room and board. You'll learn a trade. Questioning murmur. With your accent, Dennis said archly. Can you curl a lady's hair, paint her face, mend her dress, tat lace? A pause. No, you don't have the training to be a maidservant, and I wouldn't know who to bribe. So, these are obviously options Denna has walked through for herself. Like, I mean, this is going down the route of when Kvothe talked to the guy at the Aeolian, Diak.
Stanchion?
No, when he talked to Diak about Denna, and he was like, look, man, you have more options than her. Like, she can either go, work as a bar lady or, some seamstress or something along those lines. She can learn a trade or, things along those lines. So this is more beyond just Diak postulating some options. Denna lays out what her process was. Is what she's basically doing, is giving the same thing she went through with, to this girl. She gives her those options. So she can get, princed up and be basically, like a sweatshop laborer is one of her options.
I mean, it seems like better, obviously, a maidservant, but you have to be trained, and this chick apparently has an accent that she would have to lose. Yeah. Yeah. As well as have some abilities which she doesn't have. So that's out.
Yeah. And then option 2 was, get you a room till the bruises are gone. Then we buy you a seat on a coach back home. And she talks about, it's not going to be great. There's enough time you've been gone for worry to set in. So they'll be glad you're back, but they're going to talk behind your back. There's going to be rumors about you. It might be tough to get married. Those kind of things. Like, you're not going to have an easy life. You're going to be known as the girl that fucking disappeared for a month and came back with her tail between her legs, after probably, selling her fucking body and shit to survive.
It's pretty rough.
Yeah. It's not pretty rough. Not the best option, but, the alternative is to be a prostitute, or a sweatshop laborer. So none of her options are good. And that's the third one. She said, third option, if you're certain you want to make a go of whoring, we can arrange it so you don't end up dead in a ditch. You got a nice face, but you'll need proper clothes, coin sliding, and someone to teach you manners, more coins, and someone else to get rid of that accent of yours, coins again, murmur, because it's the only sensible way to do it, Dennis said flatly. And she talks about the horses, and you could be, a show horse, or you can be a fucking plow horse. And, which would you rather be? The horse that gets to go out on the parades, or the horse that's fucking plowing the fields?
That's fucking brutal.
Yeah.
She gives her the harsh truths. That's for sure. It's a very clear analogy that she fucking throws right in her face.
It also explains, why, what Denna's probably gone through. She's probably taking classes, to train her on how to act with nobility. And so, obviously she's also very knowledgeable. She's very educated. So that's probably comes from her past. But the tools of the trade of being a courtesan, she obviously learned those from someone.
Yeah, it looks like it's a mixture of both. It seems like she has a background and is well educated, but she's also had a good education and how to get along, right?
Yeah.
To get along, in a great way. And this does a really good job at pointing out the real difference and the importance of receiving gifts.
Yeah.
Right. Basically encouraging the Johns basically to want your company, to want to be around you, because in that case, not only are you getting, small things throughout the way, but nobody's kicking you in an alley. No one's trying to rape you because they're trying to spend time with you. And then you're going to get a much more pleasant experience, obviously.
Well, yeah, and it's the equivalent of you can be
control.
You can be a prostitute in an alley, or you could be some dime piece girl that is being a gold digger, going after fucking rich dudes and getting them to buy them shit, and but it's a fine line between being a prostitute and just taking money for sex and being someone who's just looking to cling off of rich dudes to get what they want from them.
Well,
using
them. I was going to say, and I think what the biggest difference is control, where she actually gets to have the control. You get to exert the control rather than being controlled. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's huge. I mean, well, that's everything in this circumstance.
Yeah. So it's it's a much different life. It's a much higher quality life.
But again, this all sort of boils down to the real issue at heart, is why this life is fucking rough as shit. Is no matter what, they talk about the price, right? Like we see what Denna has to do. She's burning bridges constantly.
Yeah.
She's having to leave once that person does want to own her, does want to clutch onto her, and they're desperate. We've seen how it goes. She's fucking books. She gets the fuck out of there.
Yeah, and there's some really grotesque rich dudes that have some fucking dime pieces on their shoulder, and now I've seen some super ugly fucking dudes with hot women that don't seem to have a lot of money, but they still got a hot woman. But the percentages swing much more in favor of if you're ugly and rich to having a hot girl than if you're ugly and broke. So those I'm thinking like a lot of those girls are probably not enjoying, the sweet love making with those dudes, but they're doing it. They're kind of in a bad spot as far as that goes with that lifestyle.
Well, and that's where Denna does hit her with the truth again. It's like, no, don't think that. No matter what, don't lie to yourself. Even the fanciest horse is still a horse. That means sooner or later you're going to get ridden.
Yeah.
So,
And it sounds, in Dennis' situation, it sounds like, what they're dealing with is more rape than, having sex with a dude you're not attracted to or you don't want to. It's a more awful experience in the life she's living, because it doesn't seem like I don't think she would have a lot of recourse. Like, I don't think it's not like she can go to the, if one of these rich, noble pricks rape her, I don't think she's going to the iron law and getting fucking justice. No, she's probably getting fucking arrested, to fucking cover up their crimes.
What I was going to say, from what we've seen in the past, she goes to the constable. It sounds like the constable is going to do just as bad.
Yeah.
And take her money.
Yeah.
Right? And she has zero recourse whatsoever.
Yeah, so she's in the analogy between the the gold digger versus the street alley prostitute breaks down a little bit, because there's not the recourse, the ability to say no is still much less with these courtesans in this world than just someone who's out there fucking looking for a rich dude to cling on to.
Well, and that's why, again, I think what Denna's describing and what Denna's been able to do, the guys we see around Denna are freaking in love. Many of them are in love with her.
Yeah.
And they're doing everything they can to try to win her over. That's not the type of guy that's then going to rape her. In most cases, again, someone like Ambrose, I wouldn't put it past him. But there's certain, I don't know, the way that I look at the world, and maybe I'm a bit innocent in that sense, is like most dudes, they go to the inappropriate side. They have no chance with her at that point. It's over.
Yeah.
So if they legitimately are trying to win her over, then it's over once they go that far.
Well, and Denna too, she can take care of herself too. So it's it's not like she's just getting fucking overpowered and has no ability to defend herself. Probably still can happen. She probably can get overpowered. I'm sure that's probably happened.
It's a possibility.
But she's not completely defenseless. We see that in this chapter. She's obviously capable of defending herself.
And we've seen enough to know that she's very clever. She doesn't allow it to get to that point. If she starts seeing signs that she's getting there, I'm envisioning she starts to then distance herself, and then she'll get out of there.
She's smart enough where, like, if things were getting that way, she probably would, play it off. See, here's the problem. She would run into, like, she could play it off and be like, pretend like she's going to be into it and then get a step away from them and be able to fucking get her knife out and threaten them. But if she's dealing with some rich noble who's got fucking power, then, is she going to pull out that knife on someone like the fucking, big brick jaw,
or Ambrose.
Big Wienerson?
Yeah. Or Ambrose. I mean,
yes,
it's not.
Are you gonna pull out a knife on one of them? No, you're done. So, I think that's probably the her ability to kind of get away from those kind of guys. If they starting to cross the line, she's got to fucking run. Whereas, she might be able to defend herself against some of the lower level guys. But yeah, if she's with someone who's rich and powerful, she'd be in a fucking bad situation. She gets fucking stuck in a room with one of those guys. If they're gonna fucking take something from her, she's not got a lot of ability to stop it.
This is a very rough life. Kvothe is now seeing much more clearly what Diak was talking about. Shit.
He takes it. This is one of the more things where it's a more douchey aspect of Kvothe than anything. Is he takes it and he's angry about it. I think, there's a portion of him that is mad that there's nothing he can do to stop it, that he can't protect her from the situation, and that this stuff has happened to her, and this is the fucking life she's living, and he's seeing the fucking gritty reality of it. But cause when they get in their next chapter, when they get in their argument, he starts to call her a whore. And you can see that anger of this revelation brings up anger, and part of it is he's mad at her, which is unfair. It's unfair to her, completely unfair. I mean, it's a reaction. Like if you're, that it's a human reaction where, if someone you care about is this bad shit's gonna happen to her, there's probably part of you is still gonna want to blame them for it, because because part of the human reaction is when you hear about that stuff, you're also going to be blaming yourself. Like, I've known this girl for a year now, and this is the fucking life she's living, and I haven't done fucking shit to help her and stop this.
Yeah. Well, what does he keep yelling? I'm trying to help you.
Yeah. And so you got that warring, like you're blaming yourself, but then you want to push it off on her and then blame the other people. So you're just throwing blame around. And so he reacts. He doesn't react well to this information. There's not a lot of empathy involved. It's a lot of fucking anger.
Yeah. Very un-Mary Sue.
No, yeah. Yeah.
Maybe the most un-Mary Sue moment, of the book in some ways.
Yeah, well, it's definitely a massive character flaw. I mean, it's a character flaw that most people have. I mean, it's hard to It's hard to hear horrible shit about people you care about and to be helpless to stop it. You put someone in a position where they're helpless to stop something, and it's not often that you get the fucking person being the rock, the fucking shoulder to cry on the dependable person. Normally they fucking freak out, act like a douchebag. Like start blaming everybody else for it, or fucking blaming the world, or fucking drink themselves stupid, or, not a lot of people fucking are the ones that hear that kind of terrible shit and become the dependable rock that, you would want someone to be in that kind of situation. And from Denna's perspective, what she would want is Kvothe to not judge her.
Yeah.
And he definitely judges her.
Yeah. It's very complicated because it's a lot of frustration from from other things that are being presented in the moment as well. So, and it's a lot of spillover, it's a lot of spillover emotion that occurs. And yeah, he fucks up, and it's difficult. It's very difficult to read.
I like though that Denna, she points out, like, look, you're going to need to decide this for yourself. You want to go home? There's a price. You want control over your life? There's a price. You want the freedom to say no? There's a price. There's always a price. And which is true. It's 100% true. She's just had to learn it in a brutal fucking way.
Well, I like that starts with, I can't tell you that. So clearly she says, what should I do? Tell me what to do. And I can't. This is something you have to decide on. And it's kind of interesting that she brings up, there's something everyone has to figure out on their own. It's something, what do you want more than anything else? What do you want so badly you'll pay anything to get it? So then she's like pushing her to, so what's your end goal here? And can this get you there is kind of what that seems to be doing.
And it hints at how fucking desperate she is for whatever her agenda is, whatever she's driving at. Like, she's like, I will pay any price to get it.
Yeah, we don't really know what that is.
Yeah.
So it's kind of poking a finger at us.
Well, and it's telling, because like the natural inclination, why would she choose to do what she's doing? Why doesn't she get herself out of it? Why doesn't she accept a different choice? And she's like, I'm willing to fucking pay the cost. The price is I have to live this life, but to get what I want, this is the cost.
Yeah, it was interesting. Rothfuss put that in there. It's great because inevitably at the end you're like, well, why did she choose this? Because we know what Denna's capable of. Now we know she got there. It was a bumpy road to get to where she is, but we know she's capable. Why is she still living the life she's living? And it tells us Master Ash is a lot more important than we thought he was. And maybe that what we're appreciating, definitely more so than what Kvothe's appreciating at this point.
Yeah, and it's exactly what Kvothe is put in the same situation, and he makes the same. It's the same exact thing that's driving Kvothe. He wants revenge, and he's willing. Why let them fucking whip you? Why? That's what I was. Why stick around when you got some rich noble like Ambrose trying to kill you and spike your fucking wheel, and you're getting fucking poisoned, and got men trying to murder you, and all this fucking terrible shit keeps happening. And it's like, why are you still fucking driving at the hole? And it's like, because he's got a fucking agenda, and he's willing to fucking pay whatever cost it is to acquire what he wants. And so that's obviously for him, it's revenge. For Denna, we don't know. Could be revenge, or it could be something else.
And the funny thing is, for him, it is the road, right? I mean, it gets more complicated than it needs to be, but that's the path. He doesn't have a fucking choice, really. Yeah. It's not. I mean, it is still a choice, but there is no other choice for him. He doesn't have family. He doesn't. That's his full purpose. So, and he just is incapable, like you said earlier, empathy. He's incapable of seeing that she has her own purpose.
Yeah, and they both have, like, the girl Denna's talking to has less options than Denna. Denna could be an actress, or she could be a musician or a singer. Yeah. Like, she could be,
she has two of those things at least. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, she could do those for a living, and, she could go to a bar and do what Kvothe does to get room and board.
Well, yeah, no, that's interesting because we had that with Kelvin when Kelvin first realizes about Kvothe. He's like, "Fuck, I'm gonna lose this guy. He's that good."
Yeah,
and then he's like, "Oh no, that's not what I'm doing." It's like, wait, really? Like,
yeah,
because that's what we were talking about. Is like he's like the best musician living in their world. I mean, arguably the best musician living in their world. Yet it's a side gig.
Yeah,
what the fuck, man? That's a big part of who he is and all. But
she's obviously extremely talented. So that line is extremely important. What do you want so badly you'll pay anything to get it? She has alternatives. There are things she could do. It's not just a simple matter of become a sweatshop laborer or go back home with my tail between my legs.
Well, yeah, it's not just
because she's got more options than that. She's got more fucking skill. Maybe it was in the beginning, but at this point, she could make a different choice and get by, and where her life would be much less difficult than it currently is. So obviously, the life she fucking chose and described, it sounds fucking awful.
Well, and it's not just being on her own either, because Long Dickerson could have taken care of her, right, and she'd have a comfortable life. But we know that's not what she wants. We hear it in this chapter, and we've known that pretty much all along, that she wants to make her own way. But that's not all it is, and that's kind of what we get with this phrase.
Because it can't just be like she's just trying to become independent, and because she could do that by becoming a musician or an actress, or building money up that way.
Dude,
she wouldn't be like giving money away. She like gives all a massive amount of money away with those necklaces and earrings and shit like that. She's just giving away wealth. So it's not money that's driving her. It's not just becoming independent and wealthy. There's something else. She has a purpose.
She's already bulked up her 401k with Jack in the Box anyway.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah,
she's
her
running
retirement
how many
plan
of those
is ridiculous.
Chains.
Yeah.
So that's not the point either. That's not her end goal either.
Dude,
we know that. So
they got her like in the one of those life insurance, one of the life insurance plans. Like so, she's got great
she got a pension.
Insurance.
She got a profit sharing plan.
Yeah,
she's all in. I was about to say she's all in with Jack in the Box. That's her fallback. That's not her end all be all. At least we don't think it is.
Yeah,
that'd be pretty interesting if that's ended up being it, where it's like we found out this is what she was doing all along. Everything she does is to fuel her ability to grow the corporation in the Fae.
Yeah, I mean, she's got whole life insurance. That's what I was trying to think of was the term. She's got like great whole life insurance, so she could be her own banker with that, and she's not relying on the banking system. She could borrow off herself. She's got great fucking jobs, owns a lot of businesses. So wealth is not her problem, clearly.
Yes, it is those secret magic, whatever Braden's feeding her, whatever Master Ash is feeding her.
Whatever the reason she wants the secret magic. That end result. Not even just collecting the magic. It's whatever she's trying to use it for. Really, really curious about that. But like, if you were coming in to like listening these books and your thoughts of Denna weren't centered around what the fuck is her agenda, like that's where your mind should be with her, because what she does just on the surface doesn't make sense. Like, why is she not an artist or an actress or something along those lines? Why is she living this life? And it's that line is the key. Is what the fuck does she want?
Yeah. Well, and that's why this chapter is so important, because Denna's so fucking important.
Yeah.
And this chapter is massively important for who she is, what she's doing, where's she going, what's her goal? Yeah, what is she trying to accomplish?
Yeah, and this is a conversation she would not have with Kvothe, and so without being in her head, this is the only way we're gonna get this kind of information.
Yeah, Rothfuss is fucking great, man. This is a brilliant way to deliver it. It's like, how else can you hear all this? And not only are you hearing it not exactly secondhand, but you're hearing it through her delivering the information to somebody else she's trying to help. Even that is more nuanced.
Yeah.
Because she's not delivering everything. She's not being fully open, but she's obviously being open.
Yeah, and it's not like she just meets a girl in a bar that she feels bad for. It's a girl that was about to get fucking raped, so it gives it more weight to why she would open up. So it's not because for her to open up and say these things, which are clearly aspects of her own life, like for her to admit these kind of things out in the open, it would take something big. Some big fucking reason for her to do that, and this gives justification for that. And it wouldn't make sense if she had this conversation with Kvothe, because they don't have that kind of relationship. They're not honest with each other. They speak to each other in these fawning kind of fake romantic gestures and those kind of things, over the top, and so but they're never just like fucking real with each other. So this is not a conversation they would have together.
It never really gets real. Anytime it gets close to getting real, they both close up and they both do the same dance and go away from it. So they even have that unspoken arrangement. But the way they mirror each other is perfect. Like you said, they would never have this conversation, not just because of her, but because of him. Neither of them would allow this conversation to occur. And again, Kvothe doing his eavesdropping.
Yeah, it's
underhanded.
It's underhanded, and it's also it's not a mark of character for him. It's definitely one of his flaws. Is these are things he could talk to Denna about. He could open up and tell her things about himself, to talk about his past, and get her to open up as well. They do have a relationship that could grow. But neither one of them will fucking open their mouth and fucking talk.
Well, and one of his biggest motivating factors throughout the chapter is wanting to learn more about Master Ash, and that's something she's distinctively tried to make clear, that she doesn't want him to know any more about Master Ash because it'll get her in fucking trouble.
They they when they're together, it's like they are doing this pretend thing where they pretend that their lives aren't a fucking giant mess, and that they're not driven by whatever goal, kill the Chandrian, whatever Denna is. They just try to let's just leave all that aside and we'll just have our play life together. While we're hanging out, we'll just have a pretend life, like everything is gold, and we'll ignore all our problems and we'll never talk to each other about anything important.
Well, it's actually, that's quite interesting too, because it's like they both give each other that release.
Yeah.
That distraction from reality.
Which would be fine if they were just friends, but they clearly both are in love with each other. So that's why it's like, come on, guys. Like, you guys gotta fucking be real with each other at some point.
Well, that's why, again, it just makes you have to assume something very similar for Denna is what's motivating her. Something very similar for Denna as what's motivating Kvothe.
Yeah.
Something he can't talk about. And you're tempted. I'm even tempted to think, same thing. Her family's killed by the Chandrian, but she fucking throws it in his face and laughs at him like he's a child.
Yeah,
it can't be the case. Yeah, that's obviously not the case. But yeah, it's great. I mean, and again, the way that Rothfuss was so... he was able to do this in such a judicious and artful way that they're so similar, and to not allow either of them to open up to one another and have it still be understandable, you can still buy it, even though, like you just said, it is kind of like, come on, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
And they're eventually going to reach that point, they're still young, right? But there's eventually going to be that point where it's like, all right, here's your shot. And actually, the funny thing is, the last time they were together, it was like, dude, this is the moment.
Yeah.
If you're not going to fucking kiss her now, then what the fuck are you doing? They were interrupted, granted, but that was the moment. That was above all,
Well, what's great is how it moves into the next chapter. Like the way, the way that these two flow together, because you got like this big buildup of, you know, their romantic scene in the garden where they almost fucking crossed that line, and then he spies on her, and you're fucking just like, all you guys gotta do, you both had fucked up shit happen to you, and you both are fucking driven by an agenda. It's clear how much you guys mirror each other. Just fucking talk to each other. Maybe you'll be on the same fucking page, and then maybe you can move forward. But then, you know, you move into the next chapter and you'll find out, no, that's never gonna fucking happen.
Yeah, I love the way he starts it out too, with just the setting the table with secrets, different types of secrets, and how much weight, and it's like a lot to bite into on that.
Yeah, so we'll just jump right into it. Like chapter 73, Blood and Ink, and in this chapter, Kvothe talks about buried secrets, and then Denna plays her song for him, and they have a very rational and well thought out chat over it.
Yeah, so we get Tekam, like we were talking about, Tekam's his writing and the theophany on secrets. Tekam, again, I mean, we've talked about him before. He's one of the big theologians, right? He's like an Aristotle or something.
Correct.
In the world. It's it does a great job of setting the tone. It kind of reminds me of, not exactly like the doors of forgetting and all that stuff. But in a way, it almost is in terms of it's applicable to our world in terms of different types of secrets, you know, and how they can take on a whole life of their own, where, you know, you can carry certain types of secrets, which, you know, everybody has their reasons for it, but then they're just waiting to be spoken, and then, you know, you get that release. But in terms of the secrets that apparently they both carry, they just fucking grip on this shit for life, and it just fucking weighs them down in such a way that it ends up, for the two of them, much more so Kvothe in the chapter, it just ends up creating this fucking really hard to read situation. As a reread. You know?
Yeah, the whole fucking chapter though, it's written so fucking well. And I guess Tekam, not necessarily a theologian, more of a philosopher. I don't know if he is big into religion, but he's definitely a philosopher. But I don't know if they specifically say anything about theology.
I should have said philosopher. He calls him philosopher, yeah.
But anyways, like they go, Tekam and says, he explains that what most people think of as secrets are really nothing of the sort. Mysteries, for example, are not secrets. Neither are little known facts or forgotten truths. A secret, Tekam explains, is true knowledge, actively concealed. Philosophers have quibbled over his definition for centuries. They point out the logical problems with it, the loopholes, the exceptions, but in all this time, none of them has managed to come up with a better definition. That, perhaps, tells us more than anything, more than all the quibbling combined. In a later chapter, less argued over and less well known, Tekam explains that there are two types of secrets. There are secrets of the mouth and secrets of the heart. And he's like, most secrets are secrets of the mouth, gossip shared and small scandals whispered. These secrets long to be let loose upon the world. Secret of the mouth is like a stone in your boot. At first you're barely aware of it, then it grows irritating, then intolerable. Secrets of the mouth grow larger, and the longer you keep them, swelling until they press against your lips. They fight to be let free. Secrets of the heart are different. They are private and painful. We want nothing more than to hide them from the world. They do not swell and press against the mouth. They live in the heart, and the longer they are kept, the heavier they become. Which is a brilliant way to describe why Kvothe won't fucking open up and talk about this shit.
Yeah.
Is he just lays it out there. And so the reason I love that so much is because you see how close they get, and you see when Denna opens up to this girl, and you see how closely they mirror each other, like even closer than you had thought previously. If you're going through this first time, when you hear this, you're like, man, you guys are fucking two peas in a pod.
Destined. Yeah, they're destined to be together.
And so it's like, just open up and talk to each other and explain your situations.
And you assume it's about to happen.
Yeah, and
Right?
because they keep moving closer and closer and closer, you
Yeah.
think you're getting there, and then he knows that he's going to pull the rug out from under you this chapter, so he starts it off with fucking describing these secrets and fucking like, no, it's like these secrets, these are secrets of the heart, and they're buried fucking so deep they're never fucking coming out.
Yeah, and it's like it well, I mean, obviously it makes the person, but it changes the person. It changes how they would act in a situation like this. Why? I mean, and it's something that's so fucking damaging to what Kvothe is, and so defining as to who he is, that he can't let it go.
Yeah.
He can't there's no room for nuance either. There's no room for like trying to be understanding to a degree, even though he knows he's capable. Like he kind of says it to himself. If I remember right, within the chapter, he kind of like even is able to a degree let her off the hook. Although we are hearing it, a lot of this is present day narration.
Yeah,
When he's talking about it. But yeah, you're right. I mean, Rothfuss wrote it in such a great way. As soon as we know, dude, it's like the song's coming. As soon as she like asked permission, it like hit me like a gut punch. I'm like, oh yeah, this is definitely it, because I knew it was coming and all, but still, like,
and to lead off,
how it's gonna go.
To lead off this chapter, where like the next thing is she's asking him, if he wants to hear her song. But he's already led it with, Tekken claims it's better to have a mouthful of poison than a secret of the heart. Any fool will spit out poison, he says, but we hoard these painful treasures. We swallow hard against them every day, forcing them deep inside us. There they sit, growing heavier, festering. Given enough time, they cannot help but crush the heart that holds them. Modern philosophers scorn Tekkum, but they are vultures picking at the bones of a giant. Quibble all you like. Tekkum understood the shape of the world. He lays it out like fucking... This secret that I have, it's not fucking coming out, and it's crushing me, and it's destroying me. And then Denna's going to play her song where it's like, is it going to go in a way where this causes him to finally open up and let go of that burden? Or is he saying, I'm never fucking letting go? And yeah, I'm never fucking letting go is what it is.
Unfortunately, like you said, it's crushing him. I mean, he pretty much... As far as we know, he misses out on what could be like the best thing that ever happened to him in his life.
And the way like it starts here, and then the way it ends, the last paragraph, it fits so well where he bookends the chapter on secrets and how deeply held this secret is. And it's his way of explaining why this fight happens. And why
it's necessary,
why it's inevitable, like why there was not going to be a situation where this plays out differently because of who they are and the secrets that they hold and their unwillingness to open up. It just shows like all that time where you're like, just fucking talk to her, like explain who it is, and you guys could go and fucking get together. It's like, yeah, and also that if you don't open up to each other and explain why you are, eventually you're both fucked up, and you're going to fucking both be put in a situation where you need to be able to tell each other who you are to fucking be able to head off your fucking anger. Mm-hmm. And if you don't understand each other, you're going to fucking clash in a very negative way.
Yeah, and unfortunately, well, yeah, like you said, it's inevitable. It was going to happen at some point.
Yeah.
It happens when she's in an extraordinarily vulnerable moment.
Yeah.
And he knows it, and he knows what he should be doing, but the subject matter trumps all ability.
Yeah.
It's super interesting. Yeah, it's pretty genius on Rothfuss' part. Like, yeah. I don't know how else to say it. It's fucking, like, just contextually, like, situational wise, the way he chose to just pack so many things in. It's tremendous, but it ends up being that chapter that like this sat with me. This sat with me for the longest time, man, because it's such a defining moment where you're just like, fuck, So those books you read where you're just like, man, did it have to go like this? Did you have to?
Yeah.
Do this? You know what I'm saying? Like, and it makes total sense.
It's just like, and Because the whole time you're just like, just fucking open up, just open up, just open up. But you're not thinking like, you better open up or fucking, this shit's going to fucking blow up in your face. You're just thinking like, just fucking get it over with and fucking talk to each other. You guys are going to get together. And then you're not thinking like, them not opening up is going to fucking collapse the whole fucking thing. And then you get to this point where that right as he lifts you up to these new heights and you think like, oh man, things are going so fucking well in Severn. They're getting so close. It's just right around the corner. And then their fucking inability to talk to each other just collapses the whole fucking thing down. And you would want it to be like, fucking Rothfuss, man, this is just like a stupid twist. And like he should have did, shit right. And he just wants to cause more tension. But no, when you read it, you're like, man, this was just fucking inevitable. Well, this was gonna happen because of who they are and their fucking inability to talk to each other. It was going to fucking collapse the whole thing.
What's really beautiful is that the only way out is for him to tell the truth. This has happened a number of times where it's like, well, there's no other option. He would have to say it now. Yeah. He's not able to do it. This is a moment where this is the only option, is to tell the fucking truth, is to tell his story, and he's not capable. So the reaction is anger and name calling and kind of being like a petulant, not total bratty, but I mean, he reacts in a super negative way because of his inability to control himself and control the emotions he's having within himself. He does control to a pretty serious degree, but yeah, it spins out of control. Which is weird that I said both those things, but
well, I mean, it's just, they're both their personalities. It was just, they reacted in the way, she's in a vulnerable state. He needs to fucking tell the truth. She's calling him fucking like a baby over, acting like a baby over, when he's talking about something where his parents were and family were fucking massacred in a brutal way. And
it's so interesting too, because she's like, oh, I didn't think anyone knew this story. It took me forever to find this story. And he's like, not only do I fucking know it, I've seen this shit, and you have it the opposite.
Well, he hasn't
the wrong way.
Yeah, he hasn't seen this story, but yeah, he's seen aspects of it. But
fuck, man. It's the pitting and the puzzle pieces fitting of how Rothfuss put together this puzzle is really fucking interesting.
Yeah, it just goes in a completely different way than you would expect. Like, this is one of the only aspects. It's not really like a. This is why I say he doesn't really do twist ending. Like, you just didn't realize the puzzle he was building. Like, you're putting all these pieces together, and you think it's going to be a picture of one thing, but then once you put the final piece together, you see it's fucking something totally different than what you were thinking, where you thought it was going to be. But all the pieces fit perfectly.
Yeah.
And so, like, there's, when you finish it, you're like, oh, no shit. This was destined to happen. This was exactly how it was going to happen. I just didn't fucking see it until I finished putting it together.
That's a really good way to put it, because it's not a twist. It is, in the sense that you expected it to end completely differently.
Yeah.
You thought they would have this moment and it would all come together. Instead, they have this moment and it all breaks apart.
Yeah.
And it was inevitable given who they are and their backgrounds. But again, it still leaves us in mystery about Denna, which is, it's perfect timing for it, because we just got what we just got.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. He put together a real piece of work here.
Yeah, this is one of those chapters, and just the way he writes it, and the beginning and the end, like so many of the sentences, and just where it's like, this is why it takes a long time, a book like this, because he's building a very complex puzzle, and to do that right, to get to build, when everybody's building this, putting this puzzle together, and they think they're putting together one puzzle, but it is something completely different. Like, that is a very difficult thing to do without getting to the end and being like, this doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, you did the opposite of what I thought you were doing, and
that's the cheap twist that ruins everything.
Most of the time, you're going to be like, this is, you just, the puzzle doesn't make any sense anymore now. Like, I mean, yeah, but now, like, after
Even
I
if
put
you
that
make
last
it
piece
work,
in, like, all of a sudden, like, now the first half of the puzzle I put together, now it doesn't fucking work anymore. It's all falls apart.
Yes, or it's everything you put together before, and then just this thing out of left field comes in.
Yeah.
Like that wasn't earned. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? It's just like, oh, so this just, kind of compacts it together. You threw some tape in here.
Yeah.
To get these things to connect. That's why I would, again, this is my endorsement for everybody, just be fucking patient and stop telling him to finish the fucking books. I'm trusting him at this point because of his ability he's shown in these 2 fucking books. They're great.
And
I don't
want to get to the end and being like, motherfucker, man.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
This sucks.
I'll be disappointed because he's feeling pressure of, well, I don't think
I don't want to get to where you put the puzzle together and then you're like, you just ruined the first 2 books. Like,
that's what ends up
all
happening.
that shit you had fucking built up, like, you just tore it all down. Like, this, he didn't tear anything down here. He did something I was not expecting. I didn't think that they were going to have this big blow up, or I thought if they had a blow up, it would be like, they fight over jealousy or these kind of things. This is like a fucking legit, real bad blow up.
Yeah.
Where they fucking tear down their relationship in a way that it's never going to be the same again. And that is, much different than where I thought it was going to go. But once you get there, it's like, man, yeah, this was how it was going to fucking happen the whole fucking time. It had to. Because of who they are.
Yeah, it's great, man. It's great. The how, where the levels Kavothe's being challenged on, because he's being challenged in a lot of different ways all at once, and he doesn't rise to the occasion, basically, is what happens. And he can't, because what is his way to be able to deal with it, again, goes back to what we just said. He'd have to tell the truth. He would have to tell his story. That's the only way that he would be able to explain away why he's reacting the way he's reacting. Outside of that, he can't just be like, oh, it's so good. Oh, it's so good. Yeah. Like just like some lukewarm, like fake ass reaction. He's not even capable of that. He's an actor, but he can't act to Denna with the context that's involved. He's just not able to do it. How would he live with himself?
No. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the song she sang was, kryptonite to him. It put him in a situation where she's vulnerable, but she just sang about the fucking one thing he's not willing to fucking open up about. And you're basically like fucking just rubbing salt in the ultimate wound for him. And he can't explain why it hurts so bad. And she's in a situation where she's vulnerable and she trusts him and she wants him to, care about it. And all he's doing is fucking shitting on it, telling her she got it all wrong. And then he fucking, then
he can't really
because he can't open up, then it just keeps escalating. Yeah. And there's no breaks at that point. Neither of them has any fucking breaks because they can't fucking talk to each other.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's what's really funny. It's like, I'm trying to help you. You're not saying anything.
Yeah.
You're just saying it's wrong. That's why you sound like a child.
Yeah.
You're like, it's not wrong. Didn't happen like that. Like, he's not the hero. It's like 4-word fucking statements.
Because I mean, he does tell her, like, I heard this from his story, but he can't finish that up with. Mm-hmm. And the reason I know that story is fucking right is because of what happened to me and my family. Like, that's how I know who the fuck Haliax is. That Landre is the fucking Chandrian. That's the aspect you're missing. Like this fucking, the curse Celatos lays upon him, that it makes Celatos look like the bad guy in your story. The only reason Celatos looks like the bad guy in your story is because you don't know he's fucking Haliax.
Well, and one of the other problems that you have, I was just thinking Kavothe's emotional reaction also is going to be compounded by it's good. It sounds good. And we know at this point, this spread throughout the world. So not only is it going to spread, it's going to spread and it's not fucking true. Yeah. So now he's got that to deal with for the future.
Yeah.
Right. And then the fact that every time he hears it, it's Denna's song on top of it. Man. it's brutal.
Yeah, it's rough. But as far as like some of the aspects of it, he goes, today Denna wore a long, elegant dress, not layered and high-necked in the current fashion, but close-fitted and open at the throat. It was a deep blue, and when she took a step, I could glimpse a long stretch of her bare leg beneath. Her harp case leaned against the wall behind her, and she had an expectant look in her eyes. So she's not only is like she going to fucking sing this song, she gets all fucking done up for it. Like this is a massive deal to her, and it's making it clear right there. And then she's like, "It's done, done enough to play you a piece at any rate. Would you like to hear it?" I caught a bit of well-hidden shyness in her voice. "I'd like nothing better than to hear it," I said. And then, Denna picked up her harp case, started down the street. I fell into step behind her. "But won't your patron mind?" Denna gave a too casual shrug. "He says he wants my first song to be something that men will sing for 100 years, so I doubt he'll want to keep it bottled up forever." She gave me a sideways look. "We'll go somewhere private, and I'll let you hear. So long as you go, don't go shouting it from the rooftops, I should be safe." So that's the first thing, is that this is a song he wants people to be singing about for a long fucking time. He wants this song to live through the ages. So he's obviously, there's some kind of purpose behind the song. And then, I'd have brought my lute, but I finally found a luthier I trust. I'm having that loose peg mended, which is funny because like this is his new lute, and he bought his new lute that he spent a bunch of money on also has a loose peg. Remember that first lute he bought?
Yeah,
had that loose peg, problem. So
I just assumed it was the same one because that always came up. But
no, Ambrose broke that one.
Hmm.
Yeah, so the original loose peg fucking lute, Ambrose shattered it, or when he threw it at him, and then Kvothe called the name of wind in response to it. So this is a new one, still has the same fucking problem. But then you'll sure serve me best as audience today, she said. "Sit wrapped in admiration as I play. Tomorrow I'll watch you, all dewy-eyed with wonder. I'll marvel at your skill and wit and charm." She moved her harp to her other shoulder and grinned at me. "Provided you aren't having them mended at the shop. I'm always up for a duet, I suggested. "Harp and lute is rare, but not unheard of." "That's delicately phrased." She glanced sideways at me. "I'll think on it." Like, they're still, like, starts off with their normal kind of fucking flirty banner back and forth where they're not being real. They're not fucking being real. And then, he fought the urge to tell her he reclaimed the ring he got from her.
From Ambrose.
Got back from Ambrose for her. Which, in hindsight, probably would have helped the situation. Maybe, had lifted him up a little higher, but it probably still would have just crashed down, and then he wouldn't have been able to use the ring later on to help try to mend things.
Yeah.
But then, so what would you think? I asked, "of having Mayor Alvaron for your patron." Denna stopped walking and turned to look at me. "What? I'm currently in his good graces, and he owes me a favor or two. I know you've been looking for a patron." "I have a patron," she said firmly. "One I earned on my own." "You have half a patron," I protested. "Where's your writ of patronage? Your Master Ash might be able to give you some financial support, but the more important half of the patron is their name. It's like armor. It's the kind of it's like a key that opens." I know how a patronage works," Dennis said, cutting me off. "Then you'll know yours is giving you shortchanging you," I said. "If the mayor had been your patron when things went wrong at that wedding, no one in that shabby little town would have dared raise their voice to you, let alone their hand. Even from 1,000 miles away, the mayor's name would have protected you. He would have kept you safe." And she brings up that a patron can offer more than name and money, Dennis said with an edge to her voice. "I'm fine without the shelter of a title, and honestly, I'd be irritated if some man wanted to dress me in his colors. My patron gives me other things. He knows things I need to know." She gave an irritated look as she flicked her hair over her shoulder. "I've told you all this before. I'm content with him for now." So that's obviously huge as far as, he gives me other things. He knows things I need to know. combine that with how she's talking about what price would you pay. She's given an opportunity to have the mayor as her fucking patron. And she's like, nah. Like, that's not minor. That's the second best patron in the world for someone who is a fucking courtesan. And she immediately is like, nah, fuck that.
That almost makes it seem like that she's almost like playing, that maybe in her mind she's playing her patron because she's getting information that she needs. Now she's delivering the goods in terms of a song that this guy once sung. That you know, so she is keeping good to her part. But obviously, I get a lot out of this in the sense that, number one, when Kvothe brings it up, it's just kind of like, dude, like, you're not catching the hint at this point. Now, you bring up a good point in the fact that the mayor is about as high as you can get as a patron, so it is still worth bringing up. But she's been pretty touchy on the subject thus far. So to continuously ignore it, you're basically, you're not starting off this conversation on the right foot, kind of annoying her, you know? And
if he wanted to get Denna to have the mayor as her patron, what he should have done is like told the mayor what he wanted to do and told the mayor, like, if I offer this to her, she's not going to take it if I offer it to her. So the only way I can get this to her is I'll bring her up to the garden. I'll have her play music. You hear the music. You make the fucking offer.
Yeah.
And he would have needed to have done it that way, or just put them in a room together and see what happens. You know, it can't be something where he just gives it to her, where she feels like she's owed. You know, she owes. I mean, that now she owes him.
Yeah. No, that's a really good point, and that's 100%. I mean, she says it here. I earned it on my own.
Yeah, but the fact that she is willing to just so cavalierly turn down, you know, the second best patron in the world when she's a courtesan and living a fucking rough life, shows you how intensely, you know, her desire is for whatever it is she desires.
That makes me wonder how she found how she was able to get Master Ash. Now we know what she
found her. No. The Diak is the one that tells us she was waiting on Kvothe, and then he approached her.
He comes in. However, she's been searching for someone that, it seems like she's been searching for someone that can give her certain types of information that she hasn't been able to find anywhere else. So the idea that she's so attached to Master Ash at this point means she's learning things. We know that already, but she's turning her back on others.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, I guess she's in the middle of her tutelage, or she's in the middle of her lessons, and maybe that's part of it, but
yeah, he's obviously dangling secrets in front of her to keep her around, because she's not just fucking manipulating him, he's beating her, and she's sticking around. I know that. And so,
I know.
So he's obviously dangling shit in front of her, and she's sticking around because he's at least giving her a steady supply. Like, she's got the magic now with the fucking braids in her hair. Seemingly, it seems that she has magic, get some kind of magical ability out of that. And so she's gaining these secrets slowly but surely. Like, it's clear that he dangled the written magic in front of her, because she at first was like, does this magic exist? She sits Will, Sim, and Kvothe down and tries to get it out of them how they do magic. And when they don't fucking explain the type of magic she was looking for, she just blankly asks them. And when they're like, I've never heard of that, she's disappointed. She's like, I knew it was too good to be true. So she's obviously, he was dangling that in front of her, but now she seems to have it. So he must be giving her pieces of the information she's looking for, but he's doing it in drips, because otherwise she would fucking bolt. So he's holding something back. She's not gotten everything she's looking for him. So it's obviously it's a mutually, they're both getting something out of it that they want. He's getting whatever he's looking for out of Denna, like this song and whatever else. He's obviously getting that, but then he's using what she's getting out of it, you know, to keep her around, so she doesn't just bolt. Because if he just gave her everything she wanted, she would fucking dip out.
Done.
She would fucking go and accomplish her goal. She's not just going to stick
that.
around and take fucking beatings, you know, for no fucking reason. Because, like, if that was the case, if she just, like, I'm a piece of garbage person, I don't deserve anything, that kind of person, if they were given an opportunity to be the mayor be their patron, like, they're going to fucking take it to get out of their fucking dog shit existence.
If she was that person, she'd already be with Long Dickerson. I mean, you know what I mean? Or somebody of the same ilk. Because she'd be taken care of. That's not who she is.
She would be like, I'm a garbage person and I'll never get a better opportunity than this. And so she's not just, because it's not like if she was just someone who's like, I'm a piece of garbage, so I don't deserve anything, then why is she so ambitious? Like, so the only thing that makes sense is that, you know, the reason she's turning this kind of shit down is he's given her what she needs to accomplish her goal. He's just not giving it to her all at once, because otherwise she would just she'd be done with him.
Yeah, and it seems like he's intelligent enough to understand that.
Because it's not like, I mean, you know, no, you don't understand. He's this great fucking dude. She's like, no, he's got something I want.
Yeah, and again, she can't tell him what it is.
Yeah.
So all their secrets sort of compounding on each
other. And I'm content with him for now. And she's not, that's not a glowing endorsement. That is not like, no, he's the fucking shit. You just don't understand him. I know him because he's my patron. I know him. He's great. If he wasn't so secretive and I could tell you about him, you would love him too. It's like, no, I'm content with him for now. He's giving me what I need. But as soon as I get it all, I'm out. And so obviously, that also leads me, to think that he's a more likely Braden than Cinder, is the fact that there clearly is this give and take game between them where he's doing awful shit to her and making her fucking put up with, all the secrets, the late hours, the beatings, and all these fucking things. And he's dangling secret knowledge and just giving it to her in drips and drabs, like, probably giving her enough so she comes back, but not giving her so much that she leaves. That just that delicate balance that it's clearly going on between them, even if it's not expressly said, it's heavily implied that, through context, that there is a very delicate fucking balance between their relationship. And that seems to make more sense with Braden than Cinder from, just what we know of those two characters. Well, although we don't know all that much about Cinder, so if we knew more about Cinder, that could maybe change our perspective.
It's definitely clear that Master Ash is keeping her dependent on him.
Yeah,
we're not really sure how he's dependent on her exactly, but there's, in some context, she's serving a purpose in his eyes, obviously.
Yeah. And she's
Yeah,
obviously not just easily replaceable.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know exactly what the fuck's going on there, but it's such a it's hard to understand, and it's complex, and there's delicacy between their relationships to the point where it's like it's going to be a major reveal, and it can't just be like Cinder needed a song fucking told to paint the Chandrian in a better light.
This it's the type of thing that makes me think she brings the blood in some way, shape, or form. You know what I mean? Not necessarily. Yeah, I don't mean necessarily that directly.
It could be that. I don't know. Maybe
I think she has to, like, there has to be a reason why her, and she is special, all that, but in the sense of why it has to be her.
Well, like, let's say, here, I'll kind of go into a theory on what I think it might ultimately be. I'll bring it up once we get there towards the end, because I have a larger fucking theory, but I definitely think there's definitely something to it. But, as far as like the rest of the chapter goes, she's like, I'm content with him for now, and then Kvothe's like, why not both? And she just turns it down. She's like, I don't want to fucking be beholden to anybody in those kind of things, just the normal shit we know about her. But then when Kvothe says, like, the mayor could dig into him, then she's like, no, you cannot fucking do that. You'll screw up
Yeah, she freaks
everything.
out. Yeah.
And he'll be furious. Like, so that might be partially why he's beaten her at least some of the times, is that she fucking let slip something. And, you know, when maybe some of the times that he's tested her and she's let something slip. And so he fucking beat her for it. And that's why she's like, no, trust me, do not fucking say anything. I will pay a fucking heavy price.
But it also seems like, I mean, she doesn't want to lose the chance of getting what she's been working towards.
Yeah. But this would
speaks to that.
This would, you know, give weight towards Cinder, because, you know, we see Braden when he reacts to Kvothe, when Kvothe's like, oh, I'll get you next time. You know, I'll be able to beat you the next game. I'm getting close.
Yeah.
And then he fucking,
gets
you know,
vicious.
but obviously the beatings, and she's talking about him losing his fucking shit. He'll be furious. The temper aspect, you know, it more closely resembles Cinder. So that this is one of those things that would give more weight to Cinder than Braden. But when she tells him, you know, promise me, and he's like, I probably wouldn't have agreed if I hadn't spent half the previous night following her around the city with the hope of discovering this very thing. But I had. Then I'd eavesdropped on her too. So today I was practically sweating with guilt. I promise, I said. When her anxious look didn't evaporate, I added, don't you trust me? I'll swear it if that will help put your mind at ease. And then he ends up swearing it. Like, he goes, you know, the right, he tells her, I'll swear it by my good hand. And she's like, I like the left one better. It's like, my good left hand? She's like, fine, the right. You're such a traditionalist. I swear I won't attempt to uncover your patron, I said bitterly. I swear it on my name and my power. I swear it by my good left hand. I swear it by the ever-moving moon. And some people think that he breaks that promise, and that's what fucking is why he can't do magic and all that kind of stuff. Is because he swore on he swore on his power and its right hand, and so that's why I can't do the Adim fighting and the magic and that. I don't think that's the case. I don't think Rothfuss would go in the route where, like, Kvothe making a promise, breaking a promise, all of a sudden breaks his magic. That doesn't seem like there's nothing about the magic that would make that make sense to me.
I was thinking also, Denna peered at me closely as if she wasn't sure if I was mocking her. I thought that could be a reason why people like to say that they think Denna is the moon. Just that little thing there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, both those things.
They're stretches.
I mean, Denna being the moon
stretches.
and that, it just, I don't know how he would do it in a way that would make sense. Like, it just seems too fantastical for it to make sense given the first two books and what we've learned.
Given the importance of this chapter, I can understand why people would look into every little part of it and say, this means this.
Yeah.
You know? Because you can, and go ahead, you know, have fun with it, but, you know, knock yourself out. But I think the him breaking his word here, reshaping the world and himself, that's a little bit much.
Yeah.
It's a little bit much to make just those promises mean everything. I mean, it's
I don't know what the magical element of that kind of promise would be. Like, there's nothing about the magic in the world would explain why making a promise would cause, like, your magic to not, you know, breaking a promise would cause your magic to not work and all that kind of stuff. Because he lies and, you know, breaks his word all the fucking time throughout the book.
Yeah, it's just superstitious shit that we have in our world. Yeah. And people hold importance.
I mean, he could do it. It's just I don't have a good.
I don't think it makes the book
rationalization.
Better,
yeah, I mean, you know, he'd have to write it in a way I don't expect, and I just can't think of anything as far as how the magic works in the world where that's not going to be just super fairy tale type shit, Rumpelstiltskin type of thing, where it's just like, what, why, and just because.
Yeah, I like so Kvothe, you know, being consistent with when he's uncomfortable, that there's going to be silence between them. Any new guys? You want to talk about some dudes?
So are there any new men in your life? The worst fucking
His
that is
terrible
worse
instincts.
than his other, fucking, cease with these sweet words.
Yeah, that was the worst. That was the worst.
No,
But
this is worse than that. So are there
this,
any new men in your life? Like, what
so,
the fuck is wrong with you, dude? That's your fallback?
These are great examples.
Is to remind her that you're not a romantic possibility.
What is a line a guy in the friend zone says? Yes. Are there any new men in your life? But also, this is a great example of, I've talked about many times, when he doesn't think too much and he goes on instinct, does well. Here he's really thinking. He's like, I'm getting uncomfortable, worried things are going to get awkward. What do I say? First thing that comes to his mind out of the awkwardness.
And what would kill me is like an awkward guy would say something like this, and then she would start talking about her fucking other dudes with him, and then he would come back to his friends, be like, man, she always turns to me to talk about her other dudes. And it's like, dude, you're the one that fucking asked her that shit. Like, this never happens to me. Like, girls don't fucking turn to me and talk to me about their fucking problems with their dudes, because I would change the fucking subject if I was interested in the girl. I would talk about something else. And even if I wasn't interested in the girl, I don't want to get involved in your fucking relationships. I hate that shit. It's not me. So these things don't happen to me. Nobody feels comfortable fucking talking about their fucking boyfriend problems with me. Doesn't fucking happen in my life. So if it happens to you, it's you, not them.
You are the
let that shit happen.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're half of the equation, and you're a big, big part of it in this context. That's for sure.
Don't be the fucking wet blanket that the girl fucking turns to cry on. Fucking weirdo. Like, or at least if you're going to be that, then be a fucking man about it and just accept that's who you fucking are, and you like that shit. Don't fucking come and complain about it later.
I feel like those are the moments where she notices his cloak the most.
Yeah. Yeah, this fucking dude in his cloak.
Those are the moments where she like looks back and she like sees it fucking the most clearly. Like, oh man.
It's like, so are there any new men in your life? Oh, cloak. I mean, Kvothe. And then she's like, now you sound like Master Ash. He's always asking after them. He doesn't think of any of my suitors are good enough for me. What does he think of me? What? She asked, confused. Oh, he didn't know about you. Why would he?
Yeah. And again, he's like, oh, man.
Fucking Eeyore's it. Tried to give a nonchalant shrug, but I couldn't have been more couldn't been very convincing as she burst out laughing. Poor Kvothe, I'm teasing you. Only tell him about the ones they come prowling around, painting and sniffing like dogs. You're not like them. You've always been different. I've always prided myself on my lack of painting and sniffing. Denna turned her shoulder and let her swinging harp bump me playfully. You know what I mean. They come and go with little gain or loss. You are the gold behind the wind blown dross. Master Ash might think he has a right to know about my personal affairs, my comings and goings. She scowled a bit, but he doesn't. I'm willing to concede some of that for now. Again, establishing that she's just trying to get what she wants out of this guy. She's ready to fucking dip out on him. I'm willing to do these things for now. I'm content with him for now. So this is not something where she's just like, she does have that line where she's like, maybe he's the best loaf I can get when she's in her fucking, sour mood and shit. Yeah. But she's not completely like that, where she's just like, this is all I deserve. No, there's more to it than that. She's just trying to get something out of him. She would leave if she could. If he didn't have something she needed.
So one of my favorite lines in the whole book, and a couple important things is she sits at the base of a greystone, which I forgot about that.
Yeah.
So I've been making note of that she sits at the base of the greystone with this super important thing that does happen, and she brings her harp up out of its case, pulling it close to her chest, causing her dress to gather and expose a scandalous amount of leg. She arches an eyebrow at him, smirks as if she knew exactly what Kvothe was thinking, and he says, nice harp.
Yeah.
And I love that. I feel like if they ended up together every time she takes off her clothes and he gets a look at that puss, he calls it a harp. I like it. It's great. I feel like that would be like the line. That should be a line that a lot of people that read these books use.
But yeah, so then he's like, honestly, I was nervous. While we had spent a great deal of time together over the last month, I'd never heard Denna play anything of her own creation. We had sung together, and I knew she had a voice like honey on warm bread. I knew her fingers were sure, and she had a musician's timing. But writing a song isn't the same as playing one. What if hers wasn't any good? What would I say? And that's exactly what fucking happens. Not that the song was bad, but he doesn't know what the fuck to say. And it's not able to fucking come up with the right words. So he even knew, like, I need to be able to say the right things. And yeah, he's not able to do it. But, and then I love the, Denna spread her fingers to the strings, and my worries faded to the background. I've always found something powerfully erotic about the way a woman puts her hands to a harp. She began a rolling gliss down the strings from high to low. The sound of it was like hammers on bells, like water over stones, like birdsong through the air. Are you ready? You're incredible, I said. I saw her flush a little, then brush her hair back behind her to hide her reaction. Fool, I haven't played anything for you yet. You're incredible all the same. Hush. She struck a hard chord and let it fade into a quiet melody. And then we get the lyrics of the song. Gather round and listen well for a tale of tragedy to tell. I sing of subtle shadow spread across the land and of the man who turned his hand toward a purpose few could bear. Fair Lanre, stripped of wife, of life, of pride, still never from his purpose swayed, who fought the tide and fell and was betrayed. So that's a much different opening than his dad told. His dad told a very similar opening, but instead of the betrayed, it was the fallen hero and the hero turned bad, where hers is obviously betrayed hero.
Yeah, it's it's definitely going that completely different route, obviously. I mean, fair Lanre, stripped of, never from his purpose swayed. Just all the terminology is basically like that of a hero, or that of a hero betrayed.
It fits too with how Rothfuss's books go to begin with, because so much of what his books are you could interpret in so many different ways. Mm-hmm. And this same story, you look at it, and he's got, the Arladin and Scarpy side look at the situation, and they paint it as Lanre as the betrayer. That, Scarpy does talk about that Lanre feels he was betrayed, and that's why he became Haliax, but he blames himself in Scarpy's story, and then he also betrays Mir Terrenial, and he fucking slaughters countless people in, all these cities, and he destroys all of them except for one. Whereas in her tale, it's that he was screwed over, and then he's cursed by Celatos, and Celatos is the tyrant douche that Lanre tried to stop. But he's still Lanre, he's not Haliax. They don't tell that she doesn't tell that aspect of it, where it would make it clear that no. Whatever your tale is, he's still Haliax. He's not a good guy. I don't care what the fuck. He might be way more complex than, just the storybook. Haliax, bad guy, does bad shit. There might be much more complexity to it that, gives some justifications that are somewhat reasonable to why he does what he does. But he does heinous shit. He's not a good person.
Yeah. Well, we talked about that before, where people were putting out the theory that maybe the Chandrian are good, right?
Yeah.
The idea that they're going around, they're like killing people in a just way. It's impossible because we see Kvothe's troop. What are you talking about?
Yeah, and in like their world, like if the story told that he is Haliax, then that would blow her story up, because that would change. Yeah. It would just change. And she brings up that it would change everything. Story doesn't make any sense that way. So, but she sings that, and then Denna's version was different. In her song, Lanre was painted in tragic tones, a hero wrongly used. Celatos's words were cruel and biting. Mere Terrennial a Warren that was better for the purifying fire. Lanre was no traitor, but a fallen hero. So much depends upon where you stop a story, and hers ended when Lanre was cursed by Celatos. It was a perfect ending for a tragedy. In her story, Lanre was wronged, misunderstood. Celatos was a tyrant, an insane monster who tore out his own eye in fury at Lanre's clever trickery. It was dreadfully, painfully wrong. And he's right, because it has to be that there's some aspect of Lanre becomes Haliax. Maybe it's a situation where Ajax fundamentally changes who he is or something. He shapes him into Haliax, or, puts some part of his own essence into Lanre to become Haliax, Breath of Ajax. But it's still Lanre Lanre became Haliax, what part, what happened in between, how it became, he's still fucking Haliax.
But isn't the whole point is that that's not mentioned in her song?
Correct. Yes. Correct.
At
the
cursing.
So that's why we know her song is at least very much incomplete. She might be, it might be a combination where, part of Celatos' story, part of her story, that there's justifications, there's reasons why you could go either way and reasons why people do. There might be room for some interpretation, but if your story leaves out the fact that Lanre is fucking Haliax, and it was Haliax that fucking attacked Celatos, then your story is not fucking true.
It's not accurate. And this drives at the secret of the heart, why Kvothe can't let this go.
And it can't be
literally threatening his existence.
And you can't,
he sees the world.
Yeah, and you can't, as like Rothfuss, you can't go back and be like, Scarpy's story was pure bullshit. He made it all up, or he had all the facts wrong. You can't do that. It's too pivotal of a fucking story. That story's got to be fucking mostly true. There could be some wiggle room on a little bit of nuance, but it's got to be mostly fucking accurate. Otherwise, that first book, you just took a shit on your first two books if you change that aspect of it.
So, Song of Seven Sorrows, is that sorrows are the cities, sorrows are the Chandrian? Like the sorrow is that they're cursed?
I think in her, because her song is not about the Chandrian, I'm thinking it's the cities.
Yeah.
And the seven, the Chandrian, but they're not voiced as the Chandrian. They're not described as the Chandrian.
Well, my point is sorrows would implicate that they're cursed, and they're cursed, and it's not their fault, right? I mean, that's what you call it.
Or
sorrow.
like that they're not doing this for revenge or whatever.
Yeah.
They don't want to do this. This is necessary.
Exactly.
Like she describes it as a cleansing fire. Like, so they're sorrowful that they got to do what they got to do.
Yeah. So,
which is not the case.
Obviously, that's not. Yeah, I was going to say, look at Cinder.
Yeah.
That's not he's not sorrowful. He enjoys the shit.
Yeah.
Haliax has to check his shit and remind him.
Haliax is sorrowful. I mean, he doesn't, he's not in Scarpy's story and the way we see him. He's not malicious and doing this just because, he's an evil person. He's doing it because, there's some fucked up reason. I mean, it can't be just like, there's reasons why he's doing it. He's got some kind of justification. Even if his justification, we might hear it and be like, "No, fuck that." Like you can't just because bad shit happened to you, you can't just go and end the world. But clearly, he's fucked up shit happened to him where there's reasons why he's doing what he's doing. I don't think I'll agree with him, but I think I'll understand why he's fucked up.
Yeah, that's always been a hard one for me to come to grips with. The idea that he has to end the world is just, you fucking just emaciate everyone. You're gonna kill everybody?
Yeah.
One by one? That's the goal?
He's very, downward smiley face. He's very
Or
fucking emo.
yeah, or it's the Kvothe sent him on a trip, did something to him, which puts him in this place. Yeah, we don't know, but we'll find out. And yeah, it's one of those things that I've always kind of had a little bit of trouble with in terms of being able to wrap my mind around how that can be delivered, where it's something that's sort of elegant. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Then he's like, I sat still and silent on the grass. For this to make sense, you need to understand something every musician knows. Singing a new song is a nervous thing. More than that, it's terrifying. It's like undressing for the first time in front of a new lover. It's a delicate moment. And he's like, I needed to say something. He's like, but a joke, a lie. Anything was better than silence. But I couldn't have been more stunned if she had written a hymn praising the Duke of Gibeah. The shock was simply too much for me. I felt raw as reused parchment, as if every note of her song had been another flick of a knife, scraping until I was entirely blank and wordless. And then when he finally does open his mouth, he's like, the city's name wasn't Mirrenitel. What is it? Mirrenitel. I said without looking up. It was not the worst thing I could have said, but it wasn't the right thing to say. There was a pause. What? Not Mirrenitel? Not Mirrenitel, I repeated. The city Lanre burned was Mir Terrenial. Sorry to tell you that. Changing a name is hard work. Tells her it's going to fuck up her meter and everything. And he asks her what made her pick this song. And she goes, she says that, I found a version of it in an old book when I was doing genealogical research for my patron, she said. Hardly anyone remembers it, so it's perfect for a song. It's not like the world needs another story about Oren Belster. I'll never make my mark in the world repeating what other musicians have already hashed over 100 times. So he's got her doing genealogy work and writing a song about it. But clearly there's something to bloodlines that he's focused on.
Yeah. There's a couple things there. Like, number one, what fucking book is this? But also, so Kvothe was actually kind of on his way with Caudicus to at least getting, pieces. I know that wasn't his reasoning, but the genealogical research was going to lead him to something similar as to what she's found.
Yeah.
Right. So it seems like he was on a path to something that could get him to some additional information that can help piece him together to what did happen or what has happened, at least getting a piece of the story. But it also this brings up so many questions so is Master Ash creating, a false understanding of history in Denna? Is he just amplifying an already existing written about revisionist history?
Well, and we know, one of our speculations all the way back to episode 4 is that you need the blood to open the doors of stone. Mm-hmm. And, so it could be that is part of the genealogy is he's trying to trace bloodlines back to, so he could find.
So he has that goal. That's his goal.
Could be. I don't know. I'm not saying it is.
Yeah.
I'm just saying bloodlines, it seems like bloodlines are fucking important in this story under the surface. And so someone who's researching this kind of story, which obviously is not a well-known story, it would be, they would be digging at the deepest truths all the way back to the original people of the world. And so researching old genealogies to figure out who is who and who's related to who and all those kind of things, it might be important to, an aspect of the book we don't understand. So it could be that he's looking at those deeper things, trying to figure something out, though, obviously.
Well, I mean, Rothfuss gave it to us as being important. We got that in the riddles and the limericks, that these are important aspects to the door, to getting through the door, to Mir Terrenial, that whole aspect of it. Kvothe's father found this out, right?
Yeah.
So piecing these things together, getting some of it from Arleden, it was important then. It's important to us. It's important to Arleden and Kvothe. Why wouldn't it be important to someone as pivotal as Master Ash.
Yeah, and this is also one that I think very heavily leans towards Brayden than Cinder, is the fact that he has her researching genealogies. What the fuck would Cinder care? Yeah. Why would Cinder have her be looking up genealogies about a story that he was a part of?
Yeah.
Like, and piecing it together in such a convoluted way, like, you know, where she's just got like all these little pieces. Like, seems convoluted where he's like, well, I want her to figure it out herself. Like, why wouldn't you just be like, here's a book, and, you know, here's a story I want you to fucking sing a song about. You know, she's working for you. If you're Cinder, like, why wouldn't you just tell her what to fucking do?
Well, and we get as far as on this page too. We get as far as Denna says, I half suspect the song is for Alvaron himself. Master Ash has implied he's had dealings with the mayor.
Yeah.
So that's fucking huge, right? I mean, that's huge towards Brayden. Right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, what it could be is that, you know, when Kvothe leaves, like, because they go. Denna at the next point, she's like, you know, he fancies himself a bit of a historian. I think he's angling for a court appointment. He wouldn't be the first to ingratiate himself by shining a light on someone's long-lost heroic ancestor, or maybe he's trying to invent a heroic ancestor for himself. That would explain the research we've been doing in old genealogies. But it could be that, you know, when she talks about he's trying to get close to the mayor, is that he's been teaching her Yiddish knots, and this is a way to get him close to the mayor to sing about, like, you know, the Lanre, or, you know, make it part about the Lackless family or something along those lines. You know, we don't know what the whole story is about, but obviously we suspect that Lanre might be an old Lackless. Mm. But it could be that he has a right in this song to sing the song to there, so she can get in the same fucking building with the Lackless box. And now she's got the knowledge of how fucking Yiddish knots work. So get someone, she training her how to, you know, do written magic, so that she can get to the Yiddish box. You know, the Lackless box was just got Yiddish fucking writing on it, because maybe she can open it. And so there's a whole period of time when Kvothe leaves where Denna and Master Ash would have still been in Severn with the mayor and Lady Lackless and the box, where they could have got together and she could have got inside that box for him.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense, man. Why he would also be training her on all that other stuff, because that would lead to the same sort of quest, right? The same sort of goal at the end.
Yeah. But other aspects of it is that I think if you tie it to the whole thing on where it could go. So it could be that that's part of it, is to get in to the Lackless box, or at least to like feel it on the outside, even if she doesn't open it, to be able to read it. And maybe she passes this information on to Kvothe, or she passes it on to Mayor. Then it comes, you know, if the Mayor's Brayden. Here's a situation I could see happening. Denna and Devi have already ran into each other. Denna sold her necklace to Devi, or her earrings to Devi, to pay off Joffrey's debt. And so they've had an interaction with each other. And it could be a situation where Denna and Devi work together. They have some kind of goal, like something to do with Denna's fucking goal and the patron's goal. And she and Devi go to Ari and get behind the 4-plate door. Something involving all three of those. They're all different reasons. They end up going behind the 4-plate door, and they use Ari to get behind there. Where now Kvothe has Denna and Ari behind the 4-plate door, and Devi. And so it could be a situation where Brayden steps in and he pushes Kvothe in a path to help him get behind those doors. But his ultimate goal is, I'm going to send him down a path that he leads to the matron, the mayor, to get in the Lackless box. The mayor has him kill Roderick in order to let him get to the box again. So he takes out Roderick for the mayor. He gets in the box to go save Denna and Ari. And then he gets behind the 4-plate door. He rescues, say, Devi and Ari from the Kingkiller. So that's the rescues princesses back from the Barrow King. And then Denna ultimately, the reason she was back there has something to do with the Doors of Stone. So getting that box, getting the Lackless box, getting Kvothe and Denna both positioned at the Doors of Stone. That could lead to they open the door. That could lead to Denna sacrificing herself to close the door. So, like in a situation, if you wanted to come up with how you could put all those pieces together into a way, obviously he'd have to fucking firm everything up and make it, turn it into an enjoyable story. But you could just the logical progression. It would make sense where you can come up with a way where Kvothe's got to get behind the 4-plate door, that Denna and Devi and Ari are all there, that covers the Kingkiller and the rescuing the princesses back, that would put Denna in a position where she's by the 4-plate door when Kvothe gets there, and so that she's either sacrificed, killed, or gets locked behind there, or locks herself behind there, or something along those lines, where then Kvothe has to change his name, lock shit in the thrice lock box, so he can't fucking go back and screw everything up by opening the door again. You can come up with a way to make all that stuff fit together in a nice little path that also leads to, him killing Roderick, and then you can come up with a way where he kills, Ambrose at the University Square. Maybe after all of this shit goes down and Ambrose fucking comes at him.
So the war with Roderick, or killing Roderick, creates the war, creates the higher taxes, creates the highwaymen on the road.
Yeah.
The Scrael and the skin changers are most likely
opening the 4-plate door.
Likely opening the door and then getting it closed back.
Yeah. All of it would fit together, and that would make, that's a way you can write the last book and connect all the pieces that are left open.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's, what it will do, but that is one way I've come up with, like, on how you put all the pieces together, and where it would, all the shit aligns, like, what could be going on here, why he's having her write this story. It could be that he had her write this song so he could get into the mayor because he wants to get inside the fucking box.
Yeah, that ties a lot of things up. I'm really curious
especially because it also combines the fact that she's learned Yiddish knots. That's got to come into play.
Yeah. And I think I'm really curious to see how Braden is revealed, or whoever Master Ash is revealed. It does make a lot of logical sense that it would be Braden, and the whole reason we're kind of going down this road is what he's teaching her and what we know she's learning. Whether it's all coming from him or not, it seems logical that much of it is, right? And he's got to have his own motivations as well.
It could also be that, he doesn't kill Ambrose. He kills Braden at the fucking square, because after all that shit happens, and then, he realizes Braden was Master Ash, and because of what Braden did, Denna's dead or locked behind the 4-plate door or something, and now he fucking sees him and he fucking kills him.
Yeah, that's interesting. That could easily be the case. I shouldn't say easily, but that's plausible.
Yeah.
Stakes are high, obviously, in that case.
Yeah, a lot of people could die, because you can come up with a situation where, Will and Sim fucking come with him, behind the doors, and a lot of fucking people can die in that situation of, rescuing the princesses and all these fucking, stories they got about him. But it could also have like a dark twist where he loses, Sim gets killed, Will fucking, goes back home after, going through some horrific shit, and, can't be around him anymore because of the mistakes Kvothe made. And so Kvothe loses all his friends. Ari's gone.
I wonder where Loden fits in as well. Where he'd fit in with this. or anyone from the
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Like, I
Adem.
mean, you can. I don't think the Adem will come much into play.
I'm just kind of considering any
but like
additional.
Yeah, I mean, they could come in any number of ways. They could be like they have been in the first two books, where they're part of the story and thing. You know, they're involved in some parts, but they're not involved in any of the major shit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they give a lot of information, if nothing else, and a
Yeah.
lot of experience, and that all is important.
Yeah.
I feel like Elodin needs to be involved because I really want him to be as well.
Yeah.
Because he's fucking awesome.
Yeah. But also, I mean, Kvothe has to go to. He goes to the Fae. He meets Bast, so that's going to be part of the story as well. There's a lot of pieces like that.
So it's probably more Felurian in some way. Maybe he sees her.
No, Florian is definitely. I shouldn't say definitely. I think there's very little chance that he goes back to Florian, because then you invite the problem of she's not going to fucking let him go. She's not just going to fucking let him go.
Yeah.
Like, you have to. I think the only way I think Florian comes back in is if that's how the book ends, is he just goes and fucking ends his life with her.
Better than being in the Waystone Inn, right?
Yeah.
They're just giving each other high fives for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
For eternity.
Well,
high fives.
Or until she gets tired with him and then makes his heart explode or makes him go mad.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I mean, there's definitely ways I think you come up with an ending to the story that would make a lot of sense. But and she's mentions who knows, running in the circles you do, you might have already met my patron and not even know it. I think if that's not Braden, like, I don't know how you make that line fit in the books, like that Cinder has been hobnobbing it with the mayor and in the same circles, and Kvothe is just fucking always turning the corner as Cinder is turning the other corner, and they never saw each other. Like, why write that line if he hasn't seen her patron?
It's funny that it makes sense in certain aspects. We did the whole sort of thing with, in certain aspects it makes sense for Cinder. But yeah, in aspects like this, it's ridiculous. Yeah. I mean, not completely, but pretty much so, right? I mean, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense when you're looking at it in these more sort of minute measures, right? That are contained and they're important. I mean, that line is important to who is Braden. It's vital, and giving us reason to speculate.
Yeah. And then, as far as the rest of it, he starts correcting her, her story and her song, and it all spirals out of control, and they start fucking viciously going after each other more and more.
I thought it was interesting, her line about she's talking about the beginning's rough, 7th verse is shambles. I know I need to expand the battles and his relationship with Lyra. The ending needs tightening. I'm like, fuck, I'd like to hear that. Like, does she know more? Like, she have more details about this?
Yeah. And then, he's telling her the whole thing's got to be redone. Lanre was a monster, a traitor. You need to change it. And then she's like, you have to be kidding. It wouldn't make any sense. The whole story falls apart if Lanre isn't the hero. It's not about what makes a good story, I said. It's about what's true. True? She looked at me incredulously. This is just some old folk story. None of the places are real. None of the people are real. You might as well get offended at me for coming up with a new verse for Tinker Tanner. And then when he tells her that the Chandrian, he's like, it was the same thing. She tells him she's been digging up the stories, going through, doing all this painstaking research, and he thinks, this is the same thing as his father had done. He'd spent years chasing down half-forgotten stories and digging up rumors. He wanted his song to tell the truth about them, and they had killed my entire troop to put an end to it. Which also brings up the fact that he should have warned Denna. Like, this, the part of the reason he should have opened up is because the Chandrian killed his family for fucking singing songs.
Yeah.
And he does not know that
she's not singing.
That she's not singing a song that will get her killed. He doesn't know the reason, what it is about the song that made that song the wrong song that they have to die for, and her song is okay. He has no idea whether her song would get her killed or not. And so he should have fucking told her.
Isn't what we were thinking is he was saying their real names? And that was sort of
correct, but Kvothe doesn't know that at this point.
Okay. Well,
he doesn't know. He doesn't know that that's what he figures out later.
No, I understand. I felt the same way as well, which that's a big thing where it's like, dude, you saw what happened to your family. This is the person in the world you care about the most outside, that's living. You would think like that would be a very rational thing for him to say now. And he could just say, he wants to keep saying, I'm trying to help you. He could say, just believe me, this shit could get you killed. Like, go there. If you're going to go,
that's too close to the truth. Like, obviously that secret is he can't dance around it. Like, she's not going to believe him if he dances around it. And that is getting way too close to the truth. Like that, just trust me. Like,
yeah, I guess he can't. Cause that's, well, what do you mean? So what has happened? What do you know? And then it's like, oh fuck, I can't, I'm not ready to do all that.
So, but
think about it. If they got together and wrote this song, think about that fucking hit. Think about the type of hit they'd be having then.
Okay, and could have sang the truth, and then the Chandrian would have swooped in and fucking chopped their heads off.
But the song would be badass.
Yeah, it would have.
It'd be worth it.
They'd be dead. But and then he tells her in the version of the story I heard, Lanre became one of the Chandrian. You should be careful. Some stories are dangerous. That's as far as he warns her. He does give her some kind of warning, but it's just an empty warning. Because then her reaction is like, the Chandrian? What kind of child are you? And laughs at him. But to me, that's like, that's where it's like, bitch, you know the Chandrian exists. What are you fucking talking about? Like, you just laughing like, the Chandrian? Like, who believes in them? Like, what are you talking about? You were at the Moth and Farm with him, and you guys both agreed that this is the fucking Chandrian's work. And now, but it's that human nature thing where now she's had some distance between the Moth and Farm, and so her mind has had a reason to rationalize away everything, all the things where like, no, that can't be true because that breaks down my worldview.
Yeah, and you just go back to
and then she goes to safer fucking explanations that make her feel good, instead of fucking dealing with the truth head on. But yeah, she fucking, that's ridiculous to me, is the dismissing what they both saw.
Yeah.
And then it just keeps getting ramped up from there where he almost calls her a whore and she fucking trashes on him for being poor.
Yeah. Shit. Yeah, they both do like the worst thing, He gets super fucking heated after she calls him a child and laughs at him, and then she gets superheated and says the worst. That's basically for him. That's kind of the worst thing, right? Is 3 shirts, and then for her, he calls her a fucking whore.
Yeah,
and then what does he do? He ends up being just like the rest of them.
Yeah,
kept saying.
Yeah. So she treats it like he wants to control her. Like so they're both. It escalates in a way that it makes perfect sense for it to escalate in that way because of who he's established as their characters for fucking 2 books. It's just the culmination of a story you did not expect. We're not thinking this is what was going to happen to them, but when you get to the end of it, it's like, well, yeah, it makes perfect sense for who they are.
Yeah.
And then they leave, and I love the way Denna responded in kind, hurt and furious and sharp-tongued as myself. We were both proud and angry and filled with the unshakable certainty of youth. We said things we never would have said otherwise, and when we left, we did not leave together. I should also mention that at one point, she takes a braid out of her hair and reties another one. So it could be that, once he started snapping at her, she tied something in her hair to keep him going. To like, she wants to hear how he really feels, because he's always so fucking guarded and shit that she wanted to hear what he really thought. And so she tied something in his hair that made him open up more, because he's like, I'd like to blame it on this or that, but just It is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, he goes to, well, maybe someone needs to fix your life.
Yeah.
You've made a fair mess of it so far, haven't you? And again, that's kind of the worst thing you can say to her. One of the worst things.
Yeah.
Because it drives directly at what, like, this is what she can take pride in. He burns it down.
What's crazy is, like, you read all the way up to this point, and you're constantly like, I wish these two would just open up with each other. And then the first time they open up with each other, they just start fucking getting real and fucking getting vicious. And not being like, pointing out their own flaws and their own insecurities and trying to relate into, how much they care about each other. It is like, what is the worst things I think about you? Let me tell you all of them.
Yeah, it gets, yeah, you're right. You want them to open up, and it's the worst case of it you can imagine. They both just shit talk in the worst way.
What do you really think about me? I think you're a fucking whore. Oh, yeah? Well, I think you're a fucking poor, broke piece of shit and fucking raggedy ass hair. It's got to fucking walk 1,000 miles to find a fucking person who will fucking deal with you. You piece of shit. Like, whoa. Like, man, you guys had some fucking pent up hostility brewing.
Yeah, I mean, and then she goes with exactly what she's been very clear about, pisses her off. You don't like my patron because you could give me a better one. You don't like my song because it's different from the one you know. You're just like all the rest. It's like that whole, I'm trying to help you. She yells that like 3-4 times. I'm trying to help you, between you're a whore, you're an idiot, you fucked your life up, I'm trying to help you.
Yeah, he wants to be the fucking savior. And that's 100% the wrong. Not only does she not want that, it's definitely wrong when you're in the midst of shitting on her song and correcting her, and then to push on like what is clearly a hot button with her is she doesn't want to fucking feel controlled, and you're all about, I'm trying to fucking save you. Yeah. She's like, oh, motherfucker. Like, this is the wrong person to tell that kind of shit to. And same thing with Kvothe, fucking poking at his fucking being poor and shit. Like, man, that's the wrong fucking button to push.
Poor,
like we saw, like, even when Sim pushed on that button, like, what were you, born in a barn? He's like, motherfucker, I will kill you.
Yeah, he flips the fuck out. Yeah, he loves that I'll kill you shit.
Yeah, he does it with Sim again when Sim, like, they're laying together and Sim asks him something about the rue, and then he was like talking about how the Aeturan hunted the rue, and like he's like at the end of his little rant, he's like screaming in Sim's face about what happened. So like, these are the poor and the rue and that kind of shit. These are not buttons to push with him. But then, then it ends after they walk away, and he's like, my temper was hot and bitter as a bar of molten iron. It seared at me as I walked all the way back to the Severin. Burned as I made my way through the city and waited for the freight lifts. It smoldered as I stalked through the mayor's estate and slammed the door to my rooms behind me. It's only hours later that I cooled enough to regret my words. I thought of what I might have said to Denna. I thought of telling her how my troop was killed. About the Chandrian. I decided I would write her a letter. I would explain it all, no matter how foolish or unbelievable it seemed. I brought out a pen and ink and laid a sheet of fine white paper on the writing desk. My parents had been killed when I was 11. It was an event so huge and horrifying it had driven me nearly mad. In the years since, I had never told a soul of those events. I had never so much as whispered them in an empty room. It was a secret I had clutched so tightly for so long that when I dared to think of it, it lay so heavy in my chest that I could barely breathe. Hours later, the blank sheet still stared at me, and I beat my fist against the desk in fury and frustration, striking it so hard my hand bled. That is how heavy a secret can become. It can make blood flow easier than ink.
That's one hell of a bookend.
Yeah, that's a fantastic way to finish it up after that start on the whole thing about secrets.
I mean, the funny thing is, when I thought he was writing the letter, I'm like, all right, here you go. This is how you do it.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey man, you're doing it. And he can't. That's how it ends, where it's like, I can't even get myself to write this shit. I can barely talk about it.
Yeah. I don't, he said his family was killed when he was 11. I thought he was 12, because like he celebrates his 12th birthday when they send, Haven't they all?
Didn't they celebrate it early?
Yeah, but like they went like another half a year before the Chandrian fucking showed up.
Right.
How early were they fucking doing that?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think about it when I read through this, but yeah, I guess me off a little bit there.
But
maybe that's the timeline that makes Arya poison Kvothe.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
It's things like that makes it all work. Shit.
But yeah, that's a fucking hell of a fucking chapter.
Yeah, I mean that group's fuck, man. It's so important to the overall story. And it's a fucking work of art the way he made it work, and it's fucking excruciating.
Yeah, it's tough to read.
Excruciating to get. Well, and it's wild.
It's a big old kick in the balls, because then you realize, like, man, this is not going to be a fucking happy. They're not going to get together.
Yeah, and to have it culminate the way that it did, like how the last group of chapters ended. You know, how close they were getting, and then boom.
You know, like it's not going to be like a happy ending for them because Kvothe is at the fucking bar. But you still think like, especially in the first book, I imagine them in the first book. I'm thinking like they're going to have a couple years together where they eventually get together and live together and, you know, are together for a period of time. But then by the time get through like second book, you're like, nah, that's not happening.
Yeah. Yeah, it's which, again, like you said, you know it from the beginning, but you still think it's going to get there because of how
well that's what I mean. I'm just saying, like,
that's why the takeaway is such
I'm thinking, like, you know, they're obviously not going to end together, but I still was thinking that they have some time together. And I think it's pretty clear that if they get any time together, it's going to be like a night. Like, it's not going to be like they fucking shack up for a year, join forces, and, you know, are together for a while. Like, not getting that story. I think they're fucking never going to, outside of maybe like they finally are real to each other one night, spend a night together. I think that's the most we'll get.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, maybe he does an internship at Jack in the Box.
Yeah. Yeah. Shows up and works one day.
Make that work.
Quits after his first day.
Yeah, this isn't for me. I don't think this is for me. He burns himself on the fryer.
Yeah.
His hands, you know, he can't be fucking with that shit.
Delicate, fucking beautiful hands.
Yeah, I've seen somebody burn their hand in a deep fryer.
That's what happens. Is like he burnt both his hands in the deep fryer, and now like they his hands still look great, but it's a glamour. And that's why he can't do magic, is because his hands got fucking horribly mangled.
But they still look good. He's got like a little shade for his hands. He's got shade gloves. Yeah,
Bast. That's why Bast hangs around, is to fucking keep that glamour up on his hands.
Maybe that's what Reshi means.
Yeah, it means mangled hands.
I think it means beautiful hands.
Hey, what's up, mangled hands? It's like, oh, he's fucking digging at it. The like one thing that's what broke him and Denna up, is she fucking did something that caused him to dip his hands into the fucking fryer and fuck up his beautiful hands. So he never will speak to her again. And there's that huge animosity between them. And Bast is always bringing it up, fucking calling him Reshi mangled hands.
So, you know, I bet I'm just going to go out on a limb, said it had something to do with that harp.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why, like, he looked at her legs, and you keep making it like she was fucking doing, like, basic instincts. Fucking
it was between her
Sharon
legs,
stoning him.
It was between her legs. Yeah. When you say Sharon stoning him, I know what you mean by basic instinct, but I'm picturing casino. Trying to take all your money. And go to your old pimp.
Sleeping with fucking Joe Pesci to get back at you.
James Woods and Joe Pesci.
Yeah.
Man, that hurt. That would hurt.
Really? Joe Pesci? Come on. Fucking Robert De Niro. Fucking cheat on me with Joe Pesci? What the fuck?
I guess I forgot they played themselves in that movie.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a true story. It's a true story of their life.
The time they spent in Vegas when they were running casinos.
Yeah. All actually happened. Joe Pesci's brother's dead. Joe Pesci actually survived that fucking beatdown. He ended up digging himself out of the grave and then had a successful acting career afterwards. But
talk about method acting. Damn.
Yeah.
These dudes.
Yeah.
They deserve those Oscars for that type of stuff.
Yeah, it's real brilliant, true story. That's why everybody loves him so much, is their fucking what they've been through in their past. But yeah, so next week we'll have Kvothe leaving Severin. So we're gonna get the introduction of the crew. Martin and Daydan and Hespe and Tempe.
I mean, again, big compliment to Rothfuss to be able to do what he just did, and then we shift. We shift gears, which is pretty fucking awesome.
And this would be a tough one. Like, I could see why this would be a jarring one for people, because like he fucking kicks you in the balls, and then he's like, and we're leaving fucking Severin. So I could see why this section might be the transition from Severin to the woods could be jarring for people, because he takes you through a roller coaster. But like, to me, it doesn't make the book bad. It's bringing up shit you don't want to feel, and then you don't want to go through this, and then after he just puts you through kind of an emotional part, then he fucking jerks you out of your comfort zone and puts you in somewhere totally different with a new set of characters, which is
builds the world out in a huge way.
Yeah, builds the world out, and I love those characters, and I like that aspect of the book, but I can see why the transition could be rough, especially your first time through.
Yeah.
I could see why it could be jarring for you, where you're like, man, I don't know, I like the first book better, and I think these are the kind of reasons why people would say that. Even though I don't agree, I think these are the kind of things that cause people to say that.
What I consistently hear from people is they like the university so much. And I mean, I definitely still recall the feeling of like, wait, what? You can't leave here. What are you talking about? This is the story. This is where everything is.
He does it to you multiple times. Like, he jerks you out of the university here. It's like they're building up the relationship with Denna, pulls the rug out from you, and then jerks you out of fucking Severin. Then because you're
also like, he's building with the mayor. Now he's in a great position. He's in this awesome position that he saved one of the most powerful people in the entire world, and he's doing him a massive solid, get him together with his dream girl.
Yeah,
and that's all gone. And then you start to think,
well, that's not gone. It's like building off of that. But then like when you get comfortable with the crew and they fucking do some heroic fucking shit and take out the bandits, then he's jerked into the Fae. And then when you get comfortable there, he's jerked out of there, and then fucking goes to aid them. And as soon as you get comfortable there, jerks you out. And so you get pulled around to a lot of these different places. But I like that aspect, because I like the fucking change of scenery, and I think it's masterful in the fact that he does that. He does pull you all left and right, and then each one of those stories are fucking great. When you're in them, you don't want to leave them. That's an impressive job. Like, the transitions are always rough, but the fact that once you're there, you don't want to leave, I mean, that's a credit to the writing.
I was going to say that what I was expecting was he finally gets the spoils. He has this great victory, and he would get the spoils, and he doesn't. But I love it. I love all of it.
That's what you expect too. Like, when he gets back to the mayor, like, you're expecting, like, all right, now fucking he's gonna get his fucking reward for all that fucking shit he did for him, and then it all blows up in his fucking face because he can't fucking hold his temper, because that fucking bitch fucking starts talking about the fucking Rue and thanking him for murdering Rue garbage humans. It's like,
That-
oh, man, you're a terrible person.
Yeah, that and what we just read, those are the two moments where he really, really peaks on anger. But yeah, that's right in cue with your shove it down your face.
Yeah.
Or shove it in your ear, shove it down your face.
Shove it down your face. Yeah. So, yeah. So,
Looking forward to it.
shove that down your fucking face. Speaking of shoving things down your face, shove this episode down there.
Okay.
All right. Well, fucking we'll see you guys next week. Peace out.
Yep.